Chapter 867. Gu Chernsha had now completely broken away from the normal cultivation system. His Dragonless Heart Sutra's formidable aspect was that the more knowledge he obtained, the more powerful it would be. Tian Si Shaoxi said. Now that he had obtained some knowledge from Lord Dan, his Dragonless Heart Sutra was rapidly expanding, and he began to understand some of the secrets of this battleship. Thus, he was able to move around the battleship with ease. Lord God, leave your knowledge behind as well. I won't kill you, but obtaining your knowledge will be much easier. The Dragonless Heart Sutra seeped into many corners of the warship, and the Prime God and Prime Dan, who were just about to escape, were once again illuminated. Gu Chernsha didn't kill them. He didn't even hurt them. He just wanted to learn their knowledge. Gu Chernsha transformed his Dragonless Heart technique into a profound knowledge that permeated into the depths of the battleship. The battleship did not resist at all, instead absorbing Gu Chernsha's knowledge. This was because the battleship knew that Gu Chernsha's knowledge was incredibly useful to it. After obtaining it, the battleship would evolve once again. Gu Chernsha, on the other hand, had other ideas, which was to infuse his knowledge into the battleship. While the battleship was learning, he could also obtain the knowledge of the battleship. Right now, Gu Chernsha had already transformed into knowledge, and had basically comprehended some sort of undying path. Knowledge could not be destroyed, regardless of whether the world still existed or not, it would always be there. Knowledge is the concrete manifestation of principles. Without knowledge, principles cannot be manifested. If the great Tao is a person's soul, then knowledge is that person's body. I've finally touched upon the path of immortality. Gu Chernsha was overjoyed. He had entered this warship left behind by the prehistoric civilization and obtained a great deal of knowledge and information. Through his deductions, his Dragonless Heart Sutra had once again advanced to a terrifying realm. Although it hadn't completely condensed into a physical form and was still considered an incomplete version, it wasn't too far from the Empyrean realm. If Gu Chernsha could absorb all the knowledge here, then who knew what level his Dragonless Heart Sutra would advance to? Not to mention becoming an Empyrean, it would be enough for him to advance to the heavenly longevity realm. Now that he had seen Sovereign Satan and Sovereign God, he could feel the vastness of the ancient civilization's knowledge. A civilization's accumulation of billions of years was not something he could compare to. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The two leaders of the prehistoric civilization, Prime Dan and Prime God, flew over and were enveloped by Gu Chernsha's Dragonless Heart Sutra. After all, they were not real people, but just two great brands. The power of their brands was almost at the divine origin realm. Unfortunately, they were still no match for the current Gu Chernsha. One must know that right now, Gu Chernsha had already obtained the Desolate Dragon Gate and the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman. His strength had risen even further. Of course, Gu Chernsha had yet to refine the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman. After all, this talisman represented the heavenly Tao. It was harder to refine compared to the Desolate Dragon Gate. However, now that he had gradually come into contact with the various knowledge of the prehistoric civilization, his understanding of the Heaven Sacrificial Talisman and the heavenly Tao had deepened. Refining the talisman was no longer a problem. This talisman might even be integrated into Gu Chernsha's Dragonless Heart Sutra. Suppress and capture. Lord Dan and Lord God were both pulled out. They were wrapped up in the Dragonless Heart Sutra and couldn't escape. Therefore, they called out again. Immediately, balls of light appeared. 10 more balls of light appeared. Each one pulsed with heaven-shaking power, and within that light were the 12 magisters of the prehistoric civilization. The Sovereign Lord, the Sovereign Spirit, the Sovereign Rest, the Sovereign Lord, the Sovereign Blaze, the Sovereign Lord, the Sovereign Lord, the Sovereign Lord, the Sovereign Universe, the Sovereign Lord. The 10 magisters and the Lord Devil joined forces, causing rumbling sounds of power to echo out. In the blink of an eye, An enormous spell formation appeared, in the middle of which was a sphere. That sphere was none other than the true form of the system of the one God. As soon as the 12 magisters appeared, the systems of the one God revealed their true form. In the blink of an eye, Gu Dushaa's attacks were destroyed, and the dragonless mental dharma was forced into him. However, Gu Qinsha wasn't the least bit surprised. In fact, a look of delight appeared on his face as he looked at the sphere, which was also made up of characters and information. It seemed corporeal, but at the same time, formless. Unexpectedly, it was also the embodiment of knowledge. Wonderful. Wonderful. We're thinking of the same thing. It seems like the highest realm of the prehistoric civilization, and the wisdom of everyone is connected. We've all reached this step, but even so, it's still not enough. We can't subdue the heavenly Tao and make it serve us. We can't create a brand new world. Gu Qinsha looked at the sphere that represented the system of the one God. He knew that if he consumed it, he would be able to acquire the legacy of the prehistoric civilization. Unfortunately, the system was far more powerful than the Lord of the Sun and Moon, and not even the Tao of Heaven could destroy it. Clearly, it was deathless. Gu Qinsha wasn't convinced that he could fully assimilate the system. But now that he had more knowledge, he would be able to reach the celestial realm. Then he would be able to absorb the system. Honorable experts of this civilization, said a middle-aged man in a white robe, who held a scepter in his hand. Don't you think you're going a bit too far? He said. He was a middle-aged man in a white robe, who held a scepter in his hand, and was clad in golden scriptures. He had an aquiline nose, and his hair was so golden that it almost seemed as if the passage of time hadn't left a mark on him. He was the sovereign lord. Ladies and gentlemen, your civilization has declined, and you are a failure. You haven't come back to life yet. You're nothing more than branding marks. You don't have hearts of your own. Do you really want to be resurrected? You'll have to rely on me. Work with me, and I can guarantee that I can resurrect you. You'll return to your peak, and you'll get what you want. You're Gu Qinsha, said a woman, her face expressionless. I know you, she said, hefting a jade scepter and jade scriptures. You founded the Calming Immortal Department, and you've done a lot of things in the Central Divine Prefecture. But to us, that's nothing to be surprised about. We did far more things in the previous civilization than you could ever imagine. If you said you wanted to resurrect us, we wouldn't believe you. You're not strong enough to do it. If you were my father, Gu Taxian, you might have a chance. My father won't come here. He's suppressing the heavenly Tao. Do you really think that you've become deathless? You'll be completely destroyed in this civilization. The previous civilization was actually the Age of Turmoil, and the Emperor of Heaven had yet to be born. But now the Emperor of Heaven has appeared. You're just sacrifices to strengthen the heavenly Tao's authority. The heavenly Tao is just fattening you up before killing you, and then letting the Emperor of Heaven do it. If you can't even understand this, then I'm truly disappointed. Gu Qinsha said, if it weren't for the imperial court suppressing the heavenly Tao, causing it to lose its former power and greatly weaken its authority, you would have long since died. You're indeed not strong enough. The woman's name was Jumi, and she looked at Gu Qinsha for a long moment. But you have the knowledge we need. Since you're here, we won't hold back. We'll take you and add you to our systems. That's right, Jumi said. I can sense that his deathless aura is different from ours. He's walking a different path, avoiding the supervision of the heavenly Tao and fate. It's very miraculous. He'll be a good test subject. Capture him and study him. We'll be able to get some good data. Capture him, then. The 12 magisters nodded, then sent their light into the sphere of the one God system. Whiz! The sphere spun, trembled, and an invisible power spread out to cover Gu Qinsha. It surpassed the prime of heaven, and Gu Qinsha had never felt anything like it. It was almost as if this sphere were the true heavens and the true Tao. Not bad. Not bad at all. This is the system that once tried to replace the heavenly Tao. Although it didn't succeed, it's the crystallization of the wisdom of an entire civilization. You can't underestimate it. If you want to use me as a test subject, then I'll gladly let you consume me. Gu Qinsha once again transformed into knowledge, and without any resistance, he began the process of fusing with the system of the One God. He transformed into the text of the dragonless mental Dharma, which flew into the sphere of the One God system. As the system of the One God consumed him, the text of the dragonless mental Dharma appeared, and it continued to expand. Humph, Zhumi said, clearly aware of what Gu Qinsha was thinking. This guy has guts. I can't believe he's letting the system of the One God absorb him. Don't tell me he's trying to take over our systems? He does not have that kind of power. There's a saying in this civilization that goes, fortune comes only with danger. Or, you can't catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's lair. I'm pretty sure he wants to infiltrate the systems of the One God, and then devour them. But how could he possibly know that our civilization has built up so much power? Our systems of the One God have chosen representatives in this civilization, and have access to the most fundamental aspects of the immortal Tao civilization? Let's see if we assimilate him, or if he devours the systems of the One God. The 12 leaders activated their powers at the same time to observe everything that was happening inside the sphere. By this point, Gu Qinsha had been sucked into the system of the One God. Inside, he couldn't sense anything. It wasn't a world, but rather a power of manipulation. In some ways, the system of the One God was the closest thing to the Tao of heaven. It was the crystallization of the wisdom of the ancient civilization, and the only reason Gu Qinsha didn't fight back was because it was a huge risk. He wanted to obtain the knowledge contained within the system. If he did not succeed, he would truly be refined by the system and become a tonic. Chapter 868. 1 second. Remember 09, to provide you with exciting reading. Chapter 865. All Celestials. Back in the system, Gu Qinsha had become a manifestation of knowledge. He had no physical form, but rather a will of propagation, creation, and expansion. 09 Little Say Net. 09 The system itself was a substitute for the Tao of heaven, and as soon as Yang Qi entered it, he could sense how greedy it was, as if it viewed him as a juicy piece of meat. Of course, to the systems of the One God, there was nothing that could possibly be more beneficial than devouring him. Only by devouring him would the systems of the One God be able to defeat the Emperor of Heaven, and perhaps even transcend and become deathless, and survive the transformations of the Tao of Heaven. Amidst his confusion, Gu Qinsha suddenly felt a will directly piercing into his soul. Within his dragonless mental cultivation technique, there was suddenly an additional amount of knowledge and principles. These knowledge and principles were things that he could not completely fuse together, as they were things that he could not understand. These things were like pollutants that seeped into his dragonless mental cultivation technique, causing it to be unable to circulate freely, and even attempting to control him. The systems of the One God were devouring him. First, it was using its own will to infiltrate his will, like a viper injecting venom into its prey. First, the prey would be paralyzed, and then it would slowly feast on them. This knowledge is really strange. I can't assimilate it, and I can't understand it. Gu Qinsha was a bit shocked, but he had long since been prepared for this. He knew that things wouldn't go smoothly for the systems of the One God, and that it would be completely unreasonable for him to assimilate them so easily. It was a game and a tempering. Without that tempering, how could he possibly become a celestial? Digest. Gu Qinsha revolved the Dragonless Heart Sutra, digesting and comprehending the knowledge and principles transmitted to him by the system, making them a part of him. The game between the two sides was as simple as that, but also incomparably complex. At their level, the battle was no longer a battle of fists and feet, a battle that could destroy the heavens and extinguish the earth. Instead, it was a battle that seemed calm, but not even the celestial, heaven longevity, and heaven primal realms could understand. Now that Gu Chernsha had gained enlightenment of the dragonless mental magic, he had become a manifestation of knowledge. No attack could do anything to him. Theoretically speaking, Gu Chernsha was the embodiment of the immortal Tao civilization, and possessed all of its knowledge. That was especially true of his mastery of the great massacre god magic, a secret magic created by Grand Emperor Heaven Talisman, which contained things that the systems of the One God couldn't infiltrate. In the blink of an eye, Gu Chernsha could sense the power of the systems of the One God increasing. His dragonless mental sutra had doubled in size, and was now beyond Gu Chensha's control. In other words, the systems of the One God had control over half of Gu Chensha's dragonless mental sutra. Theoretically speaking, Gu Chensha's true self was already half under the control of the systems of the One God. In fact, he was starting to realize that he wasn't very agile, and that he was being controlled by someone else. Of course, that was exactly what he needed. Order of Heaven's Sacrifice. Come forth. Rumble. A paper talisman appeared in Gu Chensha's dragonless mental magic, glittering with azure light. It was none other than the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice, which Gu Chensha immediately sent into the systems of the One God. All of a sudden, the systems of the One God felt the power of the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice, and began fighting back. Immense will surged into the decree, causing it to shine with dazzling light. Crack! Unexpectedly, the decree was ripped to shreds. The talisman then transformed into two characters. One of them read, "Receive the mandate of heaven," and the other read, "Man can conquer heaven." The two portions of the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice continued to fuse into the systems of the One God. Excellent. The systems of the One God are incredible. I can't believe they tore the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice apart. If I didn't borrow your power, how could I possibly assimilate them? Gu Chensha was delighted. Son of Heaven ordains gods. Grand Massacre God Magic. Combine. Rumble. The dragonless mental magic sent out two different auras. One was ordaining gods. One was slaughtering gods. One was mending the heavens. One was overturning the heavens. Yin and Yang rotated, and the cosmos rotated. In an instant, the two parts of the Heaven's Sacrificial Talisman were absorbed into the Dragonless Heart Sutra. The words obey the heavens and man conquers heaven. Whoosh! Gu Chensha's dragonless mental magic suddenly turned crimson like fire, as if it were molten gold. As he wriggled, he began to fight back, devouring the knowledge the system of the One God had imbued him with. As a result, Gu Dusha's ability to understand and calculate things improved, and he quickly digested the information from the system of the One God. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation base skyrocketed. As he fought with the systems of the One God, it was only natural that he would be able to acquire its knowledge. As a result, he was able to understand and gain enlightenment of the prehistoric technological civilization. Soon, he was able to see a path that was completely different from the path of immortals. He also used the power of the systems of the One God to assimilate the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice, ensuring that it was completely free of impurities. At the core of the Order of Heaven's Sacrifice were four characters: receive the mandate of heaven. Those four characters represented authority and authority, something that had been given to many ancient emperors. However, they were also shackles of fate. Of course, the words "man can conquer heaven" shattered those shackles, and represented different philosophies. And now that Gu Chernsha had fused those two philosophies together, he was fighting back against the systems. Gu Chensha's celestial aura was growing stronger. Waves of heavenly venerable aura circulated within his dragonless heart sutra, causing the scarlet flames to burn continuously. The 12 magisters were the Lord God, Lord Dawn, Lord Sovereign, Lord Spirit, Lord Rest, Lord Blaze, Lord Me, Lord Sa, Lord Pu, Lord Na, Lord Ian, and Lord Si. Soon, they saw something completely unimaginable. Moments ago, the ancient dust sand had been suppressed by the system of the one God, and was on the verge of being assimilated. But then, the ancient dust sand suddenly transformed into a tiny tongue of flame, burning with crimson energy. Thankfully, it wasn't a threat to the system at all. But this was also a bad sign. It meant that the systems couldn't refine Gu Chensha, and the tongue of flame was still growing, absorbing power from the systems. It was like a virus that was expanding. My dragonless mental magic has improved greatly. Gu Chensha had gained a large amount of knowledge about the prehistoric civilization. At the same time, in the central divine region, within the dragonless gourd, Lu Baiwe Wenhong, Gu Huasha, Zhuge Ye, Martial Saint, Longevity God, and the other higher-ups were all cultivating. While they were managing the world, they were also deepening their own cultivation bases. In the world, the country luck and sacrifices were getting thicker and thicker, especially those 360 common people generals. All of them were experts at the Tao Realm 36 transformation. They were all true God Realm experts and could turn their own luck into strength. Each general was loved and respected by numerous people. They became the embodiment of justice, the God of justice. Although they weren't celestial sovereigns, with the position of true God that Gu Chensha had created for them, they could fight against celestial sovereigns. It was because of this that no one could invade them in the central divine region. All right. Lu Baiwe was in the middle of cultivating bitterly, when suddenly, a stream of will pierced through her. She could sense Gu Chensha's dragonless heart sutra, and in her heart, a spark of fire exploded. Countless scriptures replaced her original body, and she transformed into a scripture. Kacha. A supreme lock on her body was completely undone. The aura of a celestial sovereign was born in her body. At that moment, she had actually reached celestial sovereign. Chensha is really amazing. He is actually fighting with the highest crystallization of intelligence of the prehistoric civilization, the God system, and he even obtained its knowledge. Lu Baiwe instantly understood what she had obtained. It was Gu Chensha's fusion of prehistoric technology and celestial Tao civilization's cultivation. It was a supreme technique to subdue the heavens, the dragonless technique. With this knowledge, she could break through to celestial sovereign realm. Dragonless Gourd, rebuild the universe. Common people's commander, reverse fate and break through. As soon as Lu Baiwe became a heavenly venerate, an inexplicable power awakened in her body. Nobody knew if it was the source of the Queen of Sky. Although she was still a heavenly venerate, the aura she exuded seemed to have completely surpassed the sky primordial realm. She even seemed to have surpassed the Sun-Moon Lord, Gu Tiansha. Is it really the Queen of Heaven? Only the Queen of Heaven would have such an aura. Zhuge Ye stared at Lu Baiwe in shock. The moment Lu Baiwe became a celestial sovereign, the dragonless gourd's aura was earth-shattering. Seeing this aura, Zhuge Ye knew that Lu Baiwe could kill a celestial longevity realm powerhouse with a snap of her fingers. After Lu Baiwe broke through, she poured all the power in her body into the dragonless gourd. Suddenly, the sacrificial power within the dragonless gourd was extracted and turned into 360 balls of light. These balls of light suddenly flew out and fused with the 360 common people's commanders, who were stationed all over the divine continent. Common people's commander, make a celestial sovereign. Everyone advance. Your current combat power is actually equivalent to a celestial sovereign, but you are definitely not a true celestial sovereign. Now that I have obtained the prehistoric technology to create a celestial sovereign, you can all advance to celestial sovereign. From now on, the divine continent's Yonko will truly have the capital to dominate the myriad realms. Lu Baiue's voice spread out from the dragonless gourd. Then, this voice began to spread among the people. There were now news organizations constantly spreading news about the movements and changes of the upper echelons of the imperial court. The entire imperial court was transparent, and this transparency led to the people's extreme trust in the imperial court. In the eyes of many people, the imperial court was no longer the high and unfathomable authority it used to be. Instead, it was like a family that could solve their problems. The closeness between the ordinary people and the imperial court was getting higher and higher. Mobile users, please browse them. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 869. What? General common people is going to become a sky venerable? In Sin Province, numerous warriors, adventurers, businessmen, nobles, scholars, and martial artists all looked at the message that was sent out by the bracer in their hands. Now, almost everyone in the world had a communication device. This communication device was made in the form of a wrist guard. When worn on the wrist, it would emit a ball of light. Within the light there were all sorts of images, all sorts of information, and even the contact information of friends. Through this communicator, everyone could get news from the court, contact friends, observe the weather, buy and sell items, pay taxes, complete missions, etc. This communicator wasn't developed by the Celestial Designer Department but by Coming Sien Department. Coming Sien Department had slowly swallowed up the Celestial Designer Department and the two merged into one. Zhuge Ye was in charge of this matter, and everyone in the world was benefiting from it. Just as the war between the humans and the demons was in full swing, everyone's communication wristbands received news. It was news released by the Imperial Court's Celestial Pacification Department. It said that the general was about to ascend to the Celestial Venerable Realm, and that all the common people should not panic if they saw the phenomenon. This was a really exciting matter. An expert who cultivated to Tao Realm 22 transformations, astronomical phenomenon, just came out of the demon region. He tapped on his bracer and sent out a message to sell the items he had obtained from the demon region. He was so shocked that he couldn't reply to his friend's message. Sky Venerable, that is a Sky Venerable. How is that possible for general common people to all reach Sky Venerable Realm? Going from Tao Realm 36 transformations to Sky Venerable Realm isn't a simple matter. I have cultivated to astronomical phenomenon of Tao Realm 22 transformations, but I am unable to comprehend the 23 transformations. Past reflection. I am stuck at this stage. So, at the same time, a large group of people gathered around this expert. Some had cultivated to the 18 transformations of the Great Tao, some had cultivated to the 19 transformations of the Big Tao, some had cultivated to the 19 transformations of the Big Tao, some had cultivated to the 20 transformations of the impermanence of gathering and dispersing, and the 21 transformations of the 5 elements. Brother Yang, is the news from Coming Sien Department real or fake? General common people has actually all become Sky Venerables? What kind of state is that? A cultivator with an 18 transformation Grand Tao Golden Core asked in shock. An Empyrean is a loophole in the heavenly Tao, of variable existence. Only by surpassing the natural talent of an innate saint can one be promoted to an Empyrean. From ancient times until now, an Empyrean can become the teacher of an ancient Son of Heaven. Even an ancient Son of Heaven would sometimes have to seek the guidance of an Empyrean if he had the heavenly sacrifice decree. This Tao Realm 22 transformation expert was called Yang Wangshi. He had a fortuitous encounter and reached this realm. He contacted many experts and formed a team. Among the people, there were many groups like this. Only by joining together would they be able to venture into the demon domain, kill demons, and obtain wealth. Over time, they would become factions. I've vaguely heard rumors these days that our imperial court is going against the heavenly Tao, and a great calamity will descend. The divine continent will become the heavenly court, and the Emperor Heaven will come out to sweep away evil and establish order in the myriad worlds. I don't know if it's true or false, but in any case we have to be careful, an expert said. I think that these rumors are just to stir up chaos in the world. Our lives are already really good. Since ancient times, when has the world been so prosperous? Yang Wangshi said, 20 years ago I was just a normal person, so how could I have such a good life? All of this is due to the imperial court. Everyone knows about the past. Each time the demon calamity, people would die and humans would be swallowed by the demon race. Now we are suppressing the demon race and treating them as prey. All of this is due to the imperial court. The heavenly Tao gave birth to humans, but it was afraid that humans would be hard to control, so it sent many tribulations to control the growth of humans. We aren't willing to be test subjects, so naturally, we have to protect the imperial court and calming Xian department. This is what the imperial court has been spreading. Does Brother Yang actually believe it? An expert frowned. We've all cultivated to this realm, so we aren't blind. We all have our own thoughts. Yang Wangshi said, when the imperial court compiled the heavenly talisman canon, it recorded countless histories and facts. We calculated and analyzed the truth ourselves, so we naturally wouldn't be deceived by others. At this point, I can already see that the various news that Calming Xian Department and the Imperial Court released, as well as the various knowledge and cultivation methods that they imparted, are all real. When you cultivate, can't you feel it? Don't be deceived by some false information from the outside. Otherwise, you will regret it in the future. Big Brother Yang is right. A few experts nodded. We've also started to cultivate the human dragon fist. This fist is really broad and profound, containing the growth of all living things, the mysteries of creation, and the might of the human heart that surpasses the heavens. As long as we continue to cultivate according to the prescribed order, we will definitely be able to become celestial venerables like the common people's Grand Marshal. I heard that when one ascends to celestial venerables, there will be all sorts of strange phenomena. The heavenly Tao will send down a huge punishment. Another expert came up. Many ancient experts died in this punishment. The moment they became celestial venerables, they immediately collapsed. I wonder if the common people's Grand Marshal will encounter such a situation during this ascension? You have to know that this isn't just one person ascending, but 360 people ascending at the same time. Look, the phenomenon is coming. As the crowd discussed, they looked up and saw 360 huge beams of light suddenly rising from the divine land and even the four wildernesses. These beams of light showed a might that pierced through the heavens and the earth. Within the light, the figure of the common people's Grand Marshal appeared. Rumble! The heavens and earth shook violently. Countless thunderbolts descended from the sky. Lightning fell wildly and space was torn apart. The God-destroying light descended from ancient times and the future at the same time to the present, wanting to destroy the common people's Grand Marshal. However, the common people's Grand Marshal was unmoved in the face of these tribulations. Instead, many texts appeared on their bodies. These texts swept in all directions, and wherever they reached, the tribulations would be absorbed by the texts. These texts were beautiful, and the concepts contained within were the deepest mysteries. Even the smartest of sages wouldn't be able to understand them. Originally, if these tribulations descended, the divine land would definitely be leveled and all living beings and humans would die. However, they were all absorbed by the texts that spread out from the common people's Grand Marshal's body. Instead, they turned into streaks of spiritual light that descended. When Yang Wangshi saw the spiritual light that descended, he used the human dragon fist. Instantly, a large amount of spiritual light was absorbed into his body. Instantly, the power in his body was gathered together and a crucial change occurred. These changes caused his soul to be totally enlightened and he started to break through realms. He actually broke through from the 22nd transformation to the 23rd transformation, past reflection, and then to the 24th transformation, future glimpse. In the end, he actually reached the 25th transformation, undying body. He broke through 3 realms at once, which was something that even he found unbelievable. Looking at Yang Wangshi's changes, many experts were delighted. They started to use the moving dragon fist to absorb the spiritual light that fell from the sky. But none of them were as effective as Yang Wangshi. Some of them couldn't even absorb the spiritual light. What is going on? A few experts had a weird expression on their faces. I know. In the depths of one's heart, the more one agrees with the calming celestial department's principles, the more benefits one will get. If one doesn't agree, then one won't get any benefits at all. Yang Wangshi hollered and absorbed the spiritual light once more. This is the spiritual light from heaven, venerables, a bit of spirituality from the battle with the Tao. A huge amount of spiritual light fused into his body, causing him to break through once more. He went from the 25th transformation, undying body, to the 26th transformation, 10,000 techniques returned to one, and then to the 27th transformation, seamless 2 worlds. Only then did he stop. This made everyone really envious, especially those who agreed with the calming celestial department's policies on the surface, but in the depths of their hearts they didn't agree. They were reflecting on whether or not they were wrong. Honglong. Heaven and earth returned to normal. All the common people's generals became celestial venerables. Their auras descended and instantly, everyone felt a huge sense of security. Right, it was a sense of security and not a restriction. Generally speaking, when the imperial court was too powerful, the common people would feel like they were suffocating. But now, the common people's generals had been handling government affairs for many years, and had never made any mistakes. They had long since won him a huge reputation, and even the most demanding of the common people and the great clans couldn't help but admire the common people's generals for their lack of partiality or selfishness. Because of how strong the common people's generals was, no one felt uneasy, only a sense of security. The feeling of security was also fused into the destiny of the nation, which was red and then solid, which then flowed into the dragonless gourd. The dragonless gourd expanded, and vast amounts of deathless substance were born. At the same time, a mysterious power pierced through the barriers of spacetime, into the ruins of the ancient civilization, and into the glowing sphere of the one God system. Instantly, Gu Chencha's power increased. National destiny, blessing. The hearts of all men, serve me. Gu Chencha laughed heartily. If even the Tao of heaven fears the hearts of men, there's no need to even mention you. Now I'm going to show you what it's like to be united in the hearts of all living beings. Even as the words left his mouth, Gu Chencha's lantern form transformed into an enormous fireball. Flames began to burn within the system, causing the interior of the glowing sphere to turn bright red, making it look like a blazing sun. Not good. The 12 magisters all sensed danger. Chapter 870. 1 second remember 09, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 867. Blocking disaster. Gu Chencha imparted the Dragonless Heart Sutra that he had obtained to Lu Baiwei, causing Lu Baiwei to finally awaken the mysterious power in his body. He then ascended to the Celestial Lord realm and was able to take charge of an area by himself, transforming the 360 great generals of the common people into celestial lords. Such a huge change caused the destiny of the Yonko to be so strong that it was almost unparalleled. It had to be known that in the past dynasties, the appearance of an Empyrean, even a sage or a god-level powerhouse, was a great blessing. They could extend the lifespan of the imperial court and even bring about a resurgence of the imperial court. There were many such examples in history. When a dynasty reached its end, it would be filled with flames of war, filled with corruption, and the people would be in a frenzy. But at this time, a god-level powerhouse or a saint-level powerhouse would appear in the court and turn the tide, reforming the court and stabilizing the world, extending the dynasty's lifespan for hundreds of years. That was the case for God level and saints, let alone Sky Lords? Sky Lords were not included. Now the entire Yonko had 365 more Sky Lord. Let alone the people of their own dynasty, even their enemies would feel their scalps go numb. Especially these Sky Lords. They were not puppets of the prehistoric civilization, but living people with sacrificial powers. The general was not a puppet but a living person. Their sacrificial power was equivalent to a real Sky Lord's sacrificial power. In fact, it was much stronger than normal Sky Lords. As such, the world was truly suppressed by this power. Many restless people did not dare to do anything in the depths of their hearts. Especially now that the people were enlightened, the Department of Calming Immortals spread many cultivation secrets and information all over the world. Even the common people knew the cultivation realms, as well as the corresponding power and abilities of each realm. Even children could recite the various states of the 36 Tao realm transformations. 09 Small Say Net. 09 Then, above the 36 transformations, the Sky Lords, Sky Longevity, Sky Origin, Sky Realm, Sky Tao, and the Department of Calming Immortals began to spread the knowledge of the world without reservation. They wanted the people of the world to completely grasp the truth. Only then would they be able to raise their overall quality and cause the power of sacrificial power to become stronger. The Tranquil Immortal Department didn't use any sort of policy to fool the people. At this stage of the game, fooling the people was nothing more than seeking death. Because the common people of the world, even children, knew that after cultivating to an extremely high realm, they could obtain all sorts of abilities. Thus, they were deeply aware of the might of an Empyrean. Otherwise, if the common people didn't know what a celestial venerate was, there would be no sense of reverence or security. Great! Zhuge Ye looked at the sharp changes in the fate of the country, in addition to the 360 common people generals all turning into celestial venerables. He was instantly overjoyed. This way, even if the Emperor of Heaven appears, we can still fight. As for who will win and who will lose, we still have to fight to know. I've already become an Empyrean and activated the mysterious power within my body. Lu Baiwei carefully felt the changes in her body. Whether or not this power is the Queen of Heaven's essence remains to be seen. I still can't control the mysterious power in my body. Your battle prowess far exceeds that of a heavenly longevity realm expert. Even a divine origin realm expert wouldn't be a match for you. When Hong looked at her aura. If that's the case, your identity must be extraordinary. Let's not talk about that. Chernsha is currently in the depths of primal chaos, playing a game with the one God system in the miracles left behind by the prehistoric civilization. The stronger the fate of our country, the more benefits he will obtain, and perhaps even subjugate the one God system. Lu Baiwei said, the Dragonless Heart Sutra he passed on contains the crystallization of the wisdom of the prehistoric civilization. Compared to what the Immortal Master and the Celestial Designer Department have grasped, it's thousands of times more profound and profound. What they have grasped is just the tip of the iceberg. It doesn't count for much. Right now, we should immediately carry out a reform, abolish the Celestial Designer Department, and abolish the Tranquil Immortal Department. The two of them will merge into a brand new organization called the Dragonless Pavilion. This is the Imperial Court's true cabinet, the Eternal Dynasty's cabinet. The Dragonless Pavilion handles all the political affairs. This way, it is perfectly justifiable. At the same time, we will abolish the Crown Prince, capture Gu Tanjian, and destroy those clans with ulterior motives. We will thoroughly purge the world and complete our final reform. Now that Lu Baiwei had become a heavenly sovereign, she seemed to have something to rely on. She began to carry out a series of deep reforms, especially the abolition of the Crown Prince. This wasn't something ordinary people could do. After all, Crown Prince Gu Xianxia was appointed by the Heavenly Talisman Sovereign. Even Gu Chernsha couldn't abolish him. But now, Liu Baiwei actually wanted to abolish him. Of course, Liu Baiwei had the qualifications to do so. She had the Regal Presence Medallion, which was equivalent to the arrival of the heavenly talisman sovereign himself. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha has already colluded with the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tiansha. There are indeed some small movements among the people, but it's enough for us to suppress. There's no point in abolishing him directly. Zhuge Ye frowned. Actually, he had long been dissatisfied with Crown Prince Gu Xiansha. This kid couldn't get along with the imperial court. He didn't know what Gu Xiansha was thinking deep down in his heart. In fact, as long as Gu Xiansha behaved himself and didn't go against the calmness celestial department, he could be given a lot of benefits without affecting his position. But this kid was appointed by the heavenly talisman sovereign after all. Until now, Zhuge Ye still didn't understand why the heavenly talisman sovereign would appoint Gu Xiansha as the crown prince. Gu Xiansha didn't show anything special. As for appointing Wu Dangkong as a concubine, it showed that the heavenly talisman sovereign had already seen through everything. From this, it could be seen that Gu Xiansha also had a miraculous existence, even more miraculous than concubine Wu Dangkong. Gu Xiansha has some secrets, but they aren't the secrets of the future heavenly court. His identity is worth studying. A smile appeared on Liu Baiwei's face. If I abolish his crown prince status, I can make him rebel. He can say that we are messing around and add fuel to the fire. With him at the center, we can cause chaos in the world. This way, his secrets will be exposed. This can be done. Even if we don't abolish the crown prince, Gu Xiansha will rebel sooner or later under the control of the Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Xiansha. It's better to force them to act earlier. Wen Hong agreed. In that case, let's get rid of these cancerous tumors. Zhuge Ye nodded. The 36th year of the heavenly talisman sovereign will be here in a few days. Liu Baiwei said, at that time, the world will be in a brand new state. We will take this opportunity to cultivate all the generals into celestial venerables, reform the calmness celestial department, establish a dragonless cabinet, abolish the crown prince, and create a brand new state. This will be a true revolution in preparation for the great calamity. Yes, all the higher-ups of the calmness celestial department moved again. The world had turned over an old page and ushered in a new chapter. The destiny of the nation had risen to a new level. In the primal chaos, in the ruins of the prehistoric civilization, in the huge battleship, in the system of the one god, Gu Chernsha was using the destiny of the nation to launch a counterattack against the system of the one god. His cultivation base was growing stronger and stronger. First, he used the power of the system of the one god to assimilate the heaven sacrificial talisman, then fuse it into the dragonless mental dharma. That was how he mastered the cultivation method of the one heart of all living beings. The heaven sacrificial talisman contained the son of the one god God-ordainment magic, and Gu Chernsha had only acquired the first two stances of it. Sun and moon shine together, live as long as heaven and earth. However, he hadn't mastered the final stance. From ancient times until now, no crown prince had ever been able to cultivate the final stance. Therefore, the third stance of the Son of the one heart of all living beings had never appeared in the world. But Gu Chernsha had assimilated the heaven sacrificial talisman, and thus acquired the complete version of the Son of the one heart of all living beings. Because of that, Gu Chernsha was the first person to acquire the third stance of the Son of the one heart of all living beings. Of course, it was only a reference for him. As the civilization of the Tao of Immortals grew more complete, he fused it into his dragonless mental dharma and gained even more benefits. The destiny of the nation surged in Gu Chernsha's direction, and he began to take control of the situation. The knowledge of the system of the one god flowed into him, and as a result, his dragonless mental dharma grew even more powerful. The system of the one god seemed to be in a bit of a predicament, and began to suppress him. However, every time the system tried to suppress him, Gu Chernsha gained more knowledge, and thus, his cultivation base grew even stronger. After a while, the system's suppression was no longer a problem for him. The Empyrean aura on his body became thicker and thicker. Nearly 99% of his world energy had been transformed into the aura of an Empyrean. Only a tiny bit in the depths of his core hadn't become an Empyrean. I'm pretty much done with the knowledge I acquired from the ancient civilization. I've already acquired the 8th and 9th tiers. I should be able to break through to the celestial realm. Gu Chensha's heart began to pound. Unfortunately, breaking through to the celestial realm will be too powerful. The Tao of Heaven will instinctively sense the threat, and will gather all of its power to try to kill me. That's exactly what I need. I'll use the power of the One God to take the blame for me, and then use the Tao of Heaven to deal a heavy blow to the system of the One God. Then I'll be able to take advantage of the situation and take control of the system of the One God. Once I take the system of the One God, I'll be able to compete with the Emperor of Heaven. I'll make the Tao of Heaven truly fear me. Crack! Gu Chensha began to break through to the celestial realm, using the power of the system of the One God to break through. Once he became a celestial, tribulation would descend. When that happened, he wouldn't be the one to bear the brunt of it, but rather, the system of the One God. It was something he had long since planned out. Considering the level of his cultivation base, he could easily slaughter heaven origin experts. Therefore, once he became a celestial, he would be able to truly contend with the will of the heavenly world. Mobile users, please visit Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 871. 1 second. Remember 09, to provide you with exciting reading. Chapter 868. Strange encounters. If Gu Chensha wanted to become a celestial, he would have to use the One God system. 09 Small Net. 09 The 12 Magisters, the Overgod, Prime Dan, and the others could all sense the destructive aura, and knew that it was the wrath of the Tao of Heaven. The Tao of Heaven felt threatened, and was willing to throw caution to the wind in order to destroy Gu Chernsha. He wanted to destroy everything, to prevent Gu Chernsha from causing irreparable harm. What do we do? This kid is so treacherous. Prime Dan knew that this was a critical moment of life and death, and that he had to make a decision. Activate. Give up. After a moment of discussion, the 12 Magisters unleashed a secret magic that caused the battleship to shrink and writhe. The primordial chaos elemental energy in the area collapsed, and countless minor kiliacosms, medium kiliacosms, and even greater kiliacosms began to erupt with primordial chaos. That's right. In the past, it would take thousands of years for a cultivator to create a kiliacosm. For example, a clan of sages would need 3,000 or 5,000 years to create a kiliacosm. As for a medium kiliacosm, it would require a celestial to establish a powerful organization, gather sacrifices, and purify the hearts of the people. A kiliacosm was something that no living being could create. It could only be created through the good fortune of the universe. The spaceship shuddered, causing primal chaos to explode. Kiliacosms fell like rain, medium kiliacosms were like clouds, and large kiliacosms were like the tide. Then, they were sent into the chaotic flows of spacetime. It was impossible to say how many worlds had appeared, and how many living beings had been born. From this, it was possible to see how incredible the spaceship was. In its heyday, it would have surpassed the heavenly worlds. The spaceship began to shrink, and the One God system's power increased. However, instead of refining Gu Chernsha, the One God system spat Gu Chernsha out. Whiz! The prehistoric civilization ruins, spaceships, and battleships that had shrunk to the point that they were almost invisible suddenly disappeared, leaving Gu Dusha behind. 09 Then, all the wrath of the heavenly Tao once again gathered on Gu Chernsha. He actually escaped? When Gu Chernsha saw the one God system spit him out, he was not surprised that the warship of the prehistoric civilization had shrunk and fled. This was part of the plan. The one God system was very powerful. If he had not refined the primeval dragon gate, the heavenly sacrifice talisman, and occupied the destiny of the divine central continent, gathering all his power, the one God system might have really devoured and refined him. The systems of the one God weren't even 1/10,000th as powerful as they had been in the past. Back in the day, not even Gu Chernsha would have been able to stand up to them. However, it was impossible for the God system to return to the past. All of the previous worlds belonged to the God system. Right now, the system of the one God and the prehistoric civilization were hiding in primal chaos, struggling at death's door. If the system of the one God wanted to return to its peak, it would have to unify all the worlds and gather faith. Only then would it be able to return to the glory of the prehistoric civilization. But that was clearly impossible. But the one God system and the prehistoric civilization's warship fled. They used up a lot of their savings and their power dropped. They'll definitely go looking for a host. I wonder who will get this system. Gu Chernsha stood in the primal chaos, watching the endless tribulations of the heavenly Tao descend upon him and drown him. But he seemed to be taking a stroll in his own backyard, and a diagram of creation, birth, and destruction appeared above his head. All of the tribulations of the heavenly Tao were sucked into the diagram of creation, birth, and destruction, becoming food. The tribulation of the Tao of heaven is itself a type of experience and knowledge. My dragonless mental dharma absorbs that experience and knowledge from the systems of the one God, creating a crucible that can combine the quintessence of two civilizations and give birth to a new civilization. Gu Chernsha's body disintegrated, as if he could not withstand this power. But after disintegrating, he gathered back together, as if he had been remolded, and his body was even stronger. The heavenly Tao shattered him over and over again, and then reformed him over and over again. Gu Chernsha didn't know how much time had passed, but then, with a cracking sound, the final core of his body shattered and transformed into the aura of a celestial. As of this moment, he had completely and utterly become a celestial. In the moment that he became a celestial, all of primal chaos trembled violently, which spread out into the chaotic flows of space-time, and then into the infinite worlds. All of the worlds, all of space-time, all of it seemed to seethe. Gu Chernsha knew that when he became a celestial, the 36th year of the heavenly talisman would come to an end. It was a coincidence, but it was also inevitable. The fluctuations of the infinite worlds just now were the fluctuations of the 36th year of the heavenly talisman. The tribulation had begun. The universe was about to experience a new transformation. Was it because he had become a celestial that triggered the tribulation, or because his ascension had coincided with the tribulation? None of that mattered. What mattered was that heaven and earth were about to experience a new transformation. The Emperor of Heaven was about to come out, and the true tribulation and battle was about to begin. Inside the dragonless gourd, Lu Baiwei and the other experts from the Celestial Steadiness Department were gathered together, observing the changes in the Divine Prefecture. All of them were very sensitive, and could sense that heaven and earth were shaking, and that all sorts of images from the future could be seen. Heaven and earth were different than before, and yet, they couldn't say exactly what was different. The 36th year of the heavenly talisman has come to an end, Yang Qi said. 36 years ago, His Majesty announced the establishment of the Yonko dynasty. I have to say, this is simply too much of a coincidence. Lu Baiwei said, the tribulation has just begun, and Chernsha has become a celestial. That's another coincidence. Unfortunately, the one God system has fled, and is now in the divine prefecture. It's impossible to say who it's latched onto. We can only deal with the myriad changes by remaining unchanged, Wen Hong said. The Dragonless Cabinet has been established, and the Celestial Steadiness Department and the Celestial Designer Institute are things of the past. The Crown Prince has announced that they have been abolished. Henceforth, the Imperial Court is ushering in a new era. We have 99% of the crystallization of the prehistoric civilization, Zhuge Ye said. Only the secret of the one God system remains. If we could get it all, we would reach a terrifying level of power. All of a sudden, someone appeared in the Dragonless Gourd, which was none other than Gu Chernsha. Now that the one God system has fled, we need to capture it and refine it. At that moment, Gu Chernsha, who had ascended to become a celestial venerate, had returned. The aura on his body was completely different from before. He looked very ordinary, but upon closer inspection, he seemed to have no physical form. He was just a representative of one civilization after another. He was the embodiment of many civilizations and the final form of knowledge. At this time, his state and realm had surpassed all cultivators in history, to say nothing of his cultivation. In the future, the only person in the heavenly court who could match up to him would be the Emperor of Heaven. Transmission. Host. Deposit. The shrunken warship of the prehistoric civilization and the one God system had completely concealed their auras, and were now the true essence of civilization. Buzz, it disappeared into the four wilds of heaven and the divine land, and no one knew who it was in. I can't accept this. Why is my position as the Crown Prince gone? In the Crown Prince's palace in the barbarian land, Crown Prince Gu Xiansha was furious, but there was nothing he could do. He had thought that his position as the Crown Prince had been conferred by Heavenly Talisman Emperor, so even if he had lost power, his position was still there. However, just 3 days ago, Lu Baiwe suddenly announced to the world in the name of His Majesty's presence that the Crown Prince had conspired against the law, harmed the country, and blasphemed against the common people. The Crown Prince's title was revoked, and he was imprisoned in the Imperial Palace. The moment the announcement was made to the world, the Dragonless Gourd released a power that completely sealed the Crown Prince in the palace. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha had hooked up with the Master of Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha, and with his support, he had started to contact people, preparing to build another Crown Prince faction within the Imperial Court to compete with the Calming Deities Department. However, this time, Lu Baiwe had announced to the world that he had been imprisoned, and the world had not reacted at all. Even the Master of Sun and Moon Gu Tiansha had not come to save him. He had been abolished just like that, and he had lost the support of the people in the world. He no longer had the ability to stir up trouble. His heart was burning with anger, and he wanted to burn everything and hate everything, but it was useless. This was because his strength was too weak. He wasn't even a match for a common people marshal. Thinking about it, the 360 common people marshals of the Tranquil Immortal Department had all advanced to the Empyrean realm, and they even had their own true god positions. This power made Crown Prince Gu Xiansha feel despair. I can't accept this. Gu Xiansha shouted again. I have been away from the Imperial Court since I was a child, because I wanted to cultivate a secret method and gather forces. Then I would return to the Imperial Court and seize power. After I came back, I was made the Crown Prince, and I thought I could control the Imperial Court. But why? I can't accept this. I want to rule the world and be the master of the world. I want to kill. Gu Chernsha, Lu Baiwe, how dare you abolish me? Gu Tiansha, you made me your pawn and slave. You all have to die. Gu Xiansha shouted hysterically. But no one responded to him, and no one could hear his shout. Because this place was completely sealed. Outsiders could not come in, and the people inside could not go out either. Only Gu Xiansha was alone in an independent space. This was the seal, the most painful torture. Lu Baiwe knew that Gu Xianxia had not given up. He had colluded with the enemy and tried to mess things up. Imprisoning him like this was already letting him off easy, because she did not abolish all of his cultivation. After the shout, the ancient mystic's sand quieted down. Suddenly, an invisible thought pierced through time and space and entered his body. Civilization, spread, system, parasite. A battleship appeared in his mind. Mobile users, please visit M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 872. 1 second to remember 09, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 869. Forming a net. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia was in despair, but a battleship suddenly appeared in his sea of consciousness. In an instant, endless information was transmitted to the depths of his soul, allowing him to understand the supreme power of the battleship. Ha 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 ha, it's the crystallization of the highest wisdom of the prehistoric civilization. Now it's all in my sea of consciousness, allowing my cultivation to soar. I've grasped a civilization. There's always a way out. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia was overjoyed. He only felt the battleship in his mind move a little bit, and it sent out endless power. As the power changed, it moved violently and created an incredible change. His cultivation broke through layer by layer in an instant, reaching the heavenly venerable realm, and then the heavenly longevity realm. It was a realm that countless people dreamed of, but he broke through so easily. This was a miracle, something that defied the heavens. Whoosh! His body flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he passed through the ceiling mark and left the Crown Prince Palace. Gu Xianxia, Lu Baiwe, everyone, wait for me. When I'm completely familiar with the power of the battleship, it'll be your time of death. The prehistoric civilization is an existence that can challenge the heavens. In addition, the power of this battleship surpassed the heaven realm when it was at its peak. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia's voice was filled with overwhelming hatred. After I capture you, I'll grind your bones to ashes. No, that's too easy for you. After I suppress you, I'll make you reincarnate again and again. You'll beg for death, but you won't be able to. I'll let you enjoy endless pain for my pleasure. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia disappeared. He hid and was ready to make a comeback at any time. As he disappeared, Gu Xianxia, who was in the dragonless gourd, smiled. There's indeed a deep meaning. What's the matter? Asked Lu Baiwe. Although Lu Baiwe had become a celestial venerable and activated the mysterious origin in his body, his strength was almost invincible. However, he was still a little weaker than Gu Xianxia, who had also become a celestial venerable. I'm talking about Crown Prince Gu Xianxia. He's escaped, said Gu Xianxia. How is that possible? I set up a seal. How could he have escaped? Even the Sun Moon Lord Gu Tianxia couldn't help him. Lu Baiue's mind moved. He really escaped. Did Gu Xianxia have a fortuitous encounter? Of course. He obtained the prehistoric civilization's battleship and the one god system. His power increased too much for us to control, so he escaped. Father made him the crown prince. The prehistoric civilization's battleship and the one god system chose him. With the battleship and the one god system, he will become a supergiant in the future. Gu Xianxia seemed to have a card up his sleeve. This guy has been suppressed by us to the point that he's extremely angry and hysterical. Next, he will launch a series of revenge method. However, his first target will definitely not be us because the system already knows how powerful I am. It will definitely not allow the ancient mystical sand to fight us head-on. So, he must be looking for a pushover. For example, to find Gu Tianxia or to kill the heavenly kings. Then, we can develop calmly and watch the tigers fight. We can make the best preparations for the real disaster. The 36 years of the heavenly talisman are up. The real disaster has begun. Do you feel anything? Many things in the world have changed, Lu Baiwei asked Gu Chensha. I felt it a long time ago. The heavenly Tao's restraint on the worlds has been reduced to the extreme. In other words, many of the previous cultivation rules will be overturned. Many cultivation barriers will become extremely easy. For example, the Tao realm. It was difficult for people to break through in the past, but now it's almost simple. In addition, the Golden Core realm, the Spiritual Power realm, the 23 changes reflecting the past, the God realm, the Sage realm, and even the Heavenly Lord realm, the Heavenly Life realm, and the Heavenly Origin realm will be easy to break through. 09 Small Say Net. 09 If I'm not wrong, there will soon be giants reaching the Heavenly Origin realm. In addition, Heavenly Lord realm masters will also be born. They will not be as few as before. Gu Chensha secretly calculated the Heavenly Tao and found that all the changes in the Heavenly Tao seemed to be hidden. There was almost no monitoring of the world's spacetime. The moment he became a Heavenly Lord, the Heavenly Tao seemed to have disappeared. It was like a court. Suddenly, all the armies, bureaucrats, constables, and government offices disappeared. The world suddenly lost its restraint and order. What would happen to the world? The result was simple. The world would be thrown into chaos. Flames of war could be seen everywhere, and no one would know how many people would become emperors or kings. It was the same now. The Heavenly Tao had lost its order, and the world was no longer under supervision. Countless people with hidden ambitions would rise up. In fact, many people in the divine prefecture would cultivate to a very high level, and they would have the ambition to seize power. Gu Chensha had to suppress the internal conflict. The Central Plains divine prefecture, even the Yonko, had never been a monolithic entity. People's hearts changed, and not even the Heavenly Tao could control them. Naturally, Gu Chensha would not be able to completely control them. Of course, as his power increased, the world was changing. Furthermore, he did not want to control the hearts of people. He wanted to be a pioneer. He wanted to create an era that had never existed before, an era where humans could control the Heavenly Tao. In addition, he wanted to break through the restraints of the Heavenly Tao and expand the world without limit. This was what his Dragonless Heart Sutra was trying to do. The Heavenly Tao isn't completely gone, he said. On the contrary, it gave up on supervising the myriad worlds in order to reign in its power and deliver a fatal blow to me, or perhaps to my father. Gu Chensha continued, in that case I have to be very careful. Once the Heavenly Tao makes its move, it won't give me a chance to survive. I'm not strong enough to fight the Heavenly Tao. I need to advance my cultivation, and gain enlightenment of the Tao of deathless and indestructible. It's too bad that the battleship and the One God system got away, she said. If we could refine them into the Dragonless Gourd, the situation would have changed, and we would have been able to fight the Emperor of Heaven. If the Heavenly Tao reigns in its power to attack us, then it will have to rely on the Emperor of Heaven. Lu Baiwei said, however, I've searched everywhere. I've searched everyone in the Calming Immortal department, but I couldn't find the Emperor of Heaven or the other heavenly kings. As for Gu Tanjian, Gu Changjian, Jing Qiu, and Gu Hua, they seem to have disappeared. Xian Xian has also gone into hiding. Great Burning Heavenly King and Gu Tiansha are also hiding somewhere. Of course you can't find them, because these people have left the imperial court. They know that once I become a heavenly venerable, I won't be able to hide, so they left first. Gu Chensha said, they are now gathered in a mysterious place, planning and waiting for the right time. Or rather, waiting for our imperial court to have internal strife. Why would we have internal strife? Longevity God asked doubtfully. Our current strength is extremely tyrannical. The 360 common people's generals have finally become heavenly venerables, suppressing the world. Any ambitious people will be suppressed to the point that they don't dare to have any ideas. People's hearts will change, forever hard to fathom. Now that the heavenly Tao has lost its supervision, cultivation has become extremely easy, especially breaking through realms. Think about it, in the future, many experts will obtain fortuitous encounters and cultivate to the God realm, sage realm, and even heavenly venerable. Then their hearts will definitely change, and as their cultivation increases, so will their ambitions. Think about it, if there are thousands of heavenly venerables, tens of thousands of heavenly venerables, how will we manage them? But we can't suppress their advancement, so we will walk the same path as the heavenly Tao. Gu Chensha frowned. This is indeed a big problem. The heavenly Tao has lost its supervision, shrinking its strength. In fact, it is handing the problem to us. Lu Baiwa said, but as long as we become stronger, we can still lead the world, lest there be unpredictable changes in the world. I also have some plans for this matter. Let's sweep away the unstable factors first. I must collect the 4 desolates, all of them into the dragonless gourd. Gu Chensha said, once the 4 desolates are collected, the divine prefecture will be isolated. Once the divine prefecture is isolated, wanting to transform into the future heavenly court is almost impossible. Now, my true body is suppressed in the dragonless gourd, and the dragonless gourd hangs in the sky of the divine prefecture, suppressing the changes at any time, and then activating its power to collect the 4 desolate. I obtained almost 99% of the knowledge and wisdom of the prehistoric civilization, and combined it with my dragonless heart sutra to advance to heavenly venerable. I came up with this grand plan. After I collect the 4 desolates, I will collect the divine prefecture, all of them fusing into my dragonless gourd. This way, I will see how the ancient heavenly court will advance, and how the Emperor Heaven will appear. But collecting the 4 desolates is a big project, and I have to make arrangements. As he spoke, Gu Chensha sat cross-legged in the dragonless gourd, sending out streams of power into the depths of the 4 desolates, as if he were spinning a spider's web. Once the web was finished, he would capture the 4 desolates in one fell swoop. Gu Changjian, Xian Xian, Jing Qiu, and Gu Hua had only obtained the recognition of the heart of the 4 wastelands. They were able to obtain the power of the 4 wastelands, which was why they looked very powerful. However, they had only obtained the recognition. They were like officials who had obtained the power bestowed by the emperor, and could be taken back at any time. But now Gu Chensha was going to collect the true forms of the 4 desolates, which was beyond the heavenly primal stage. Gu Chensha's true form sat there, gathering the 4 desolates. An energy current rushed out of his body, which transformed into a new version of himself. After I became a heavenly venerable, I sensed the existence of other endless treasures. Did you think you could hide them from my calculations? Even if it's the heavenly Tao, there will always be a time when 100 secrets slip up. I will gather all 36 treasures, open the gate to the heavenly realm, and obtain the heavenly emperor's throne. At that time, I don't believe that the heavenly emperor won't come out. Mobile users, please visit Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 873. 1 second to remember 09, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 870. All endless Gu Chensha now had 22 of the 36 endless treasures. In the beginning, he obtained the infinity umbrella from Fa Wuxian. Then, he obtained the 7 infinity treasures of the great Fen Heavenly King, making him 8. Then, he obtained Wen Hong's infinity cauldron, making him 9. After that, he also obtained the 12 infinity treasures of the 3 ministers, 8 marquises and Fong Lin. In this way, he had 21 infinity treasures. In addition to the infinity heart, he had 22 infinity treasures. Therefore, there were 14 infinity treasures left. Jing Qiu's boundless river, Gu Zhan's boundless sword, Gu Changjian's boundless sword, and boundless blade had already been revealed. Following that, there were 11 more boundless treasures that had yet to be revealed. Gu Chunsha wanted to collect all 14 infinity treasures and put them into his body. The 36 infinity treasures were the key to controlling the heaven realm. From Gu Chensha's point of view, the throne of the Emperor Heaven, the land of the Divine Land, and the entire heaven realm were closely related to each other. Everything was in the 36 infinity treasures. If the heaven realm was condensed, it would be an existence similar to the worship of the prehistoric civilization. It was not much different from the worship of the prehistoric civilization at its peak. Of course, it was now far more powerful than the worship of the prehistoric civilization. After all, the worship of the prehistoric civilization had encountered a catastrophe, and its strength was less than 1/10,000th of its original strength. And the heaven realm was now at its peak. Gu Chunsha had already regarded the heaven realm as a magic treasure. In addition to collecting the 4 wilds, his greatest plan was to refine the heaven realm as well. At this moment, his vision had surpassed countless great existences. Whoosh! His incarnation landed in the land of the Divine Land. This was because he had already predicted the birth of the infinity treasures. After devouring the infinity heart, he had already integrated all the essence of the infinity treasures into his Dragonless Heart Sutra. In an instant, he could sense many subtle existences of the infinity treasures. Landing in the Fajo city of the Divine Land, Gu Chensha's avatar waved his hand. A crystal cracked open, and 2 people rolled out. One was the ancestor of heaven and earth, and the other was naturally the immortal Lord. "How do the 2 of you feel?" Gu Chensha smiled and asked, "Are the 2 of you still not submitting to me? When would he wait to submit to the imperial court?" "Patriarch Heaven and Earth, the reason why I haven't destroyed the Black Heaven and Earth Gate yet is because I want all of you to submit to me and worship me so that I can make up for my mistake. Right now, I am preparing to directly collect the 4 desolates. To you, the power of the 4 desolates might be inconceivable, but to me, it is nothing at all. If you don't submit, then don't blame me for demoting you to mortals." Gu Chunsha wasn't threatening him. He just said it with a smile, as if it was a joke between friends. However, Patriarch Heaven and Earth and the Immortal Master were terrified when they heard that. They could already tell that Gu Chensha's strength and cultivation base were no longer something they could resist. Even though they were heavenly longevity realm cultivators, they felt like children facing a true god in front of Gu Chunsha. He could do whatever he wanted to him. "Gu Chunsha, what level has your strength reached?" Patriarch Heaven and Earth asked after a moment of silence. "A level that you can't understand," Gu Chunsha said casually. "For example, the Tai mystical sect has been following me for a long time. I'll give them a big gift now." As he spoke, streams of light gathered around Gu Chunsha. After 3 breaths worth of time, they condensed into a human figure. The human figure exuded a formidable aura. It was as though he had been resurrected from the dead. 09 Small Saynet. 09 Heavenly Lord Tai? Patriarch Heaven and Earth exclaimed. "Yes, Heavenly Lord Tai, the ancestor of the Tai mystical sect. I've resurrected their ancestor," Gu Chunsha said. "Heavenly Lord Tai, have you digested the memory that I've passed to you?" "Thank you, Your Highness." After Heavenly Lord Tai was resurrected, a look of realization appeared on his face. "Your Highness has protected our Tai mystical sect all these years, making our orthodoxy more and more powerful. I've already understood that it's meaningless to maintain our orthodoxy. It's better to integrate into the Yonko and make Tai mystical sect the world, the imperial court, and a part of the country. If that's the case, it doesn't mean that your Tai mystical sect will disappear. Tai mystical sect can be a clan, a group, and a group under the imperial court," Gu Chunsha said. "These are some methods of the prehistoric civilization. We can learn from them." "Yes. I'll arrange it right now so that Tai mystical sect can complete the conversion from ideology to reality." Old Man Tai bowed towards Gu Chunsha and took a deep look at Patriarch Heaven and Earth. Patriarch Heaven and Earth, we've fought against each other for a long time, but we were used by the three heavenly lords. Now that the three heavenly lords have been subdued and become the spies of the imperial court, what else can you struggle for?" After saying that, he left to reorganize Tai mystical sect. "I'm willing to submit to you." Patriarch Heaven and Earth knew that the current situation was more powerful than him. Gu Chensha's power made him feel extremely desperate. He used to be a prehistoric magnate even earlier than the three heavenly lords. After being resurrected, he got rid of the restraint of the Lord of Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, and established a great alliance. But now, this alliance was easily destroyed by Gu Chensha. It was already shattered, causing him to feel disheartened. As he spoke, Patriarch Heaven and Earth knelt down sincerely and began to worship. "Very good, that's not bad." Gu Chensha sensed the power of Patriarch Heaven and Earth's worship. "You're sensible. Now that you've submitted to me, hurry up and go back to preside over the entire heavenly sect of Heaven and Earth, joining the imperial court, pacifying and suppressing the hearts of the people in heavenly sect of Heaven and Earth. 3 days, I'll only give you 3 days. If you can't pacify the hearts of the people in heavenly sect of Heaven and Earth, even all the heavenly sects in East Wilderness, I'll extract your cultivation base and create a king of people to preside over this." "Yes, yes, yes." Patriarch Heaven and Earth hurriedly nodded and disappeared in a flash. Finally, it was the Immortal Lord's turn. Gu Chensha looked at her. "How about it, Immortal Lord? Are you going to resist stubbornly? Do I even have the ability to resist now? Even the prehistoric civilization behind me was almost captured by you. I think that the prehistoric civilization won't be able to escape from your hands sooner or later. But now, I'm afraid you guys aren't so optimistic either. The heavenly Tao has given up its supervision over the infinite worlds, and the world of chaos has truly descended. Even I feel like I've lost a lot of restraints. If I continue cultivating like this, I'll definitely break through to divine primordial realm. I also have a feeling that the people with the bloodline of the divine prefecture in your country will also cultivate to an extremely high realm. Perhaps in 1 or 2 years there will be a large number of God-level experts, saints, and even heavenly venerables. Those experts won't be restrained by you at all. When the world is in chaos, what will you do? Unless you suppress your cultivation, I think there will be internal problems. I've thought about this a long time ago." Gu Chensha said to the Immortal Lord, "That's not something you need to think about. You have 2 choices now. One is to submit, and the other is to be demoted. I'll give you 3 breaths time because I don't have that much time to waste on you." "All right, I choose." The Immortal Lord seemed to have made up his mind. "I choose to become a normal person. I will never submit. Kill me if you have the guts." "Good. You're determined." Gu Chensha was a little surprised. He looked at the Immortal Lord and said, "It seems like you don't have high hopes for us. You don't have high hopes for the Heavenly Talisman Emperor either. You still have high hopes for the Emperor of Heaven." "That's right, Gu Chensha. Your imperial court has a fatal weakness," the Immortal Lord said. "As you wish." Gu Chensha couldn't be bothered to say anything more to the Immortal Lord. Since she had made her own choice, then he would strip her of everything. As he spoke, Gu Chensha pointed with his finger. Suddenly, a light wrapped around the Immortal Lord. A pained expression appeared on the Immortal Lord's face. All of her cultivation was extracted in an instant. In just a few blinks of an eye, the Immortal Lord had turned into a frail woman. She had transformed from a powerful primordial creature that had dominated the ancient world for countless years into a mortal woman without any cultivation base. Then, the extracted cultivation turned into the Immortal Lord, but she was the common life king. It was just like how Gu Chensha refined the North Star Emperor and turned it into the common life king. Immortal Lord, this is the real you. You're just a coward now. Gu Chensha pointed at the common life king who looked exactly like the immortal lord and said, "You're even more cowardly than the heaven and earth patriarch." "I can't imagine it. The heaven and earth patriarch is the real coward. I can see the real situation in the future. Even you don't understand. No, actually, you know you're going to fail, but you still want to die. You hold on. I'd rather lose all my cultivation than to follow your bad example. That's the real secret of the highest level." The immortal lord didn't show any weakness. Gu Taxian's actions are destined to fail. You should reflect on yourself as an ordinary person for a period of time. Gu Chensha waved his hand. The immortal lord felt the world spin. When she opened her eyes, she found herself in a courtyard. There were many ordinary people living in the courtyard. She saw Chu Feng immediately. He was the heavenly king of Jin. The current Chu Feng had no power. He only had some simple martial arts. When he saw the immortal lord, he couldn't help but laugh maniacally. "Who would have thought that your cultivation would be crippled too, immortal lord? That Gu Chensha is really crazy. He won't even let off his own people? But don't worry. As long as he doesn't kill us, we'll have a chance to return to our peak. Seems like you're extremely loyal to the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Heaven has already been born. He won't mistreat you." Mobile users, please browse M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 874. Chu Feng, you're the Grand Jin Heavenly King, yet you've ended up like this. Your Heavenly King origin has been stripped and the primordial Dragon Gate has been devoured. However, you don't look discouraged at all. Instead, you're getting more and more confident. Why is that? Could it be that you've received pointers from the Emperor Heaven King? The Immortal Master asked curiously. "I'm the Heavenly King, and I'll always be the Heavenly King. This is also the mission the Heavenly Tao has entrusted to me." Chu Feng laughed sinisterly. "The 36th year of the Heavenly Talisman has arrived. You've also sensed that all the shackles between heaven and earth have disappeared. This way, experts will emerge one after another, especially those with the bloodline of the Divine Prefecture. They're all proud sons of heaven, and each of them will cultivate to an extremely high realm. Moreover, their minds will also change. They won't listen to the immortal Jingxian's lies. As long as we wait, the world will descend into chaos and these people will kill each other to weaken their strength. If the world descends into chaos and we've lost all our strength, I'm afraid we'll die." The Immortal Master frowned. "You'll die, but I won't." Chu Feng sized up the Immortal Master. "But seeing that you're not in cahoots with that bastard Gu Chensha, I can help you this once. Just stay here and I'll tell you what to do when the time comes. Got it? Then I'll thank Lord Heavenly King here." The Immortal Master really seemed like a weak woman at this moment as she bowed to Chu Feng. The human heart is truly unfathomable. Gu Chensha saw this scene. In the end, the Immortal Master is still my father's woman. She actually doesn't believe us and is instead respectful to that crippled Chu Feng. Is she being cheap or something? As he spoke, he shook his head and looked toward the distant Iron Mountain of legalism. The legalists were the #1 aristocratic family of the Divine Prefecture and had existed for close to 10,000 years. Even though they'd been severely suppressed in the recent decades, they were still a centipede that never died. This was especially true after the resurrection of the Dharma Saint. He contacted the demon race and created a dimensional realm. Then, he formed an alliance with the Heaven and Earth Ancestor and joined forces with Wu Dankong. They stirred up trouble everywhere in the dark and always had the intention of overthrowing the Divine Prefecture. The Dharma Saint's cultivation base had already reached the Heaven longevity stage, surpassing many of the old-timers. The last time Gu Chensha entered the Black Heaven and Earth Gate, he grabbed Wu Dankong's heavenly sacrificial talisman and then went to deal with the Patriarch of Heaven and Earth and the Immortal Master. After that, he went to the ruins of the prehistoric civilization and did not find the Dharma Saint. Dharma Saint was originally with Wu Dankong, but he seemed to have heard some news and escaped without a trace. He did not even return to his legalism lair. However, Gu Chunxia didn't come to deal with the legalists this time. Even if the legalists had already formed a dimensional realm, he didn't need to personally take action. This was because, let alone a dimensional realm, even a boundless world could be destroyed by Gu Chunxia with a flick of his finger. He had come here because he had sensed the reincarnation of the boundless treasure in the Dharma prefecture. Now that he had cultivated a celestial body, nothing could hide from his calculations. He walked on the streets of the Dharma prefecture, observing the local customs. The Dharma prefecture was named after the Dharma saint. Now that the legalists had collapsed, it had a huge impact on them. In the land of the Dharma prefecture, Gu Chunxia could feel the mark of the legalists gradually dissipating. The Dharma saint had created the code of all ages and started the trend of an era. For thousands of years, the imperial court had more or less used his laws to govern the country. As a result, the Dharma saint had amassed a lot of destiny and power. His accumulation could not be said to be weak. Moreover, he had broken free from the shackles of the heavenly Tao and resurrected himself. Gu Chunxia knew that he still had a lot of destiny left, which was why he had been able to escape from him this time. However, this was just child's play. Besides the Emperor of Heaven, Gu Chunxia did not consider anyone a match. The matter of the Dharma saint could be resolved at any time. The legalists are finished. When Gu Chunxia walked into a tea-house, he heard a lot of discussion. Many people had gathered here to spread the news and discuss countermeasures. There were no waiters in the tea-house. Instead, there were mechanical puppets. They were vivid and lifelike, walking as if they were flying. These mechanical puppets were exactly the same as humans, except that they had no intelligence. However, when they worked, they did not know fatigue. Now, many places among the people used these mechanical puppets. Even the commoners of the most ordinary families could buy a mechanical puppet to work. This was sold by the imperial court. Of course, these low-level mechanical puppets could only work and not fight. If they wanted to fight, they would have to buy more expensive combat puppets. However, ordinary families could not afford them. This was some technology from the prehistoric civilization, and all of it had been accepted by the new, dragonless cabinet. The Celestial Calmness Department and the Celestial Designer Institute had already become history. Now, the official organization of the Imperial Court was the Dragonless Cabinet. The legalists are indeed finished. In the past few days, the Imperial Court has already begun to send experts into the legalists' dimensional realm to conduct a large-scale search. Just a few hours ago, they captured hundreds of thousands of legalist disciples and locked them up one by one to be judged for their crimes of rebellion. That's not all. The legalists have also colluded with the demons in an attempt to carry out some spirit-demon plan. That is to wipe out all humans and then merge with the demons to give birth to a new race that will be controlled by the legalists. Someone said, "This is a heinous crime. The people of the legalists should all die. Only by destroying their souls can they vent their anger." That's not necessarily true. If you want to pin a crime on someone, you can always find a pretext. Right now, the Imperial Court has established the Dragonless Cabinet, abolished the Crown Prince, and purged the aristocratic families in an attempt to reorganize the hearts of the people. The legalists are naturally the first. As a great sage of humanity, the Dharma Saint has a lot of merit, so we can't kill them all. Someone frowned and said, "I think the former Calming Immortal Department, which is the current Dragonless Cabinet, is a little complacent. This isn't a long-term plan. Abolishing the Crown Prince and the Heavenly Designer Institute is equivalent to abolishing the rules left behind by the Heavenly Talisman Emperor. I'm afraid there will be a great disaster. Keep your voice down. The world is now under strict surveillance. Our every move is under the eyes and ears of the People's Marshal. If you act like this, you'll be dissatisfied with the Imperial Court. I'm afraid there will be a great disaster. Someone hurriedly stopped him. It's fine. The imperial court hasn't gone that far, and they haven't been punished for their words in recent years, the person said proudly. This is the ideology of the former calming, immortal department. If they change their minds and come to arrest me because of my words, then they will really be going against the law and will not be far from destruction. Don't say any more. Someone slammed the table and stood up. Junior, what do you know? The imperial court is unprecedentedly enlightened and prosperous. The people's marshal is upright and strict, always handling matters impartially and without any selfishness. It's millions of times better than any imperial court in the past. Everyone can cultivate now, and there's even hope of advancing to the highest realm. It's nothing like before, trembling under the tyranny of the demon race and almost being wiped out several times. Now you're actually criticizing the imperial court, which means you're dissatisfied with me. If you say another word, I'll definitely kill you. Humph. Where did this mad dog come from? Do you think I, Gao Xinyuan, will be afraid of you? The person who criticized the imperial court also stood up and laughed coldly. I'd like to see what you're capable of. As they spoke, the two of them were at daggers drawn and were about to attack. In the unseen world, there seemed to be a power that felt the murderous intent and murderous aura. In this tea-house, a beam of light suddenly descended and then spread out, as if it was some kind of warning. This is the power of the imperial court's heavenly net. It forbids fighting. If you want to attack, I'm afraid you'll be punished by the imperial court. Someone was familiar with the meaning of the light. The imperial court's power is now indeed monitoring the four wilds and the divine prefecture. Not a single place is overlooked. Someone coldly observed without saying a word. Humph. The person who criticized the imperial court was called Gao Yuanxin. He coldly snorted and left the tea-house. The others also continued to drink tea and chat. After Gao Yuanxin left the tea-house, he returned to his residence. This residence was a tall building with a full 100 floors. Tens of thousands of people lived in it. Now, there were such tall buildings everywhere in the divine prefecture. Because of the explosive growth of the population, the land area was not enough. Although the four wilds were large, many people in the divine prefecture were not willing to leave the divine prefecture to go to the four wild. This was because everyone knew that only people born in the divine prefecture had extremely powerful bloodlines, which would be of great benefit to their future cultivation. If they left the divine prefecture and went to the four wilds, then their descendants would lose the bloodline of the divine prefecture. Therefore, after the news spread, countless people poured into the divine prefecture, causing the population of the divine prefecture to skyrocket again. The prices of various kinds of land also rose steadily. The imperial court really does have a lot of supporters, but I feel like I'm in great danger. After Gao Yuanxin returned to his residence, he was very unhappy. The rulers of the Celestial Calmness Bureau, such as Lu Baiyue, Gu Qinsha, Zhuge Ye, and Gu Huasha, are all very fake. Forget it. I don't care about that. I just need to focus on cultivation. Hopefully, I can reach a very high level. I don't think I can see the future clearly. But now that so many people have broken through, it seems like cultivation has become much easier. Gao Yuanxin's ears twitched slightly, and he heard the sound of many spirit chi explosions resounding one after another in the building he lived in. Someone was breaking through to the Dao realm. What? Gao Yuanxin was a bit surprised. The youngest son of the Wang family, who lives on the 54th floor, is only 9 years old. He just broke through to the Dao realm? How long has he been cultivating? As he listened, an aura appeared above Gao Yuanxin's head. Within that aura, a magical treasure appeared. It looked like an eyeball. The endless eye. All of a sudden, someone appeared in Gao Yuanxin's room. This person was wearing a long robe, and his entire body seemed transparent. When he appeared, Gao Yuanxin could sense it, and his eyes snapped open. "Who are you?" "The reincarnation of the Endless Eye. I've finally found it." The transparent robe said, "You're in danger right now. The Imperial Court could capture you at any moment and take your life-bound magical treasure. Come with me, I'll take you to a safe place." Chapter 875. 1 Second to Remember 09, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 872. Show Up. The transparent man appeared in front of Gao Yuanxin and said that Gao Yuanxin was the inexhaustible eye and wanted to take him away. 09 Small Say Net. 09 Gao Yuanxin was stunned at first, and then a look of joy appeared on his face. "Who is this friend? I feel a very familiar feeling from you, and I can see that you are not an enemy." "Of course I am not your enemy, but your savior. You are the reincarnation of the inexhaustible eye, and now you are in an extremely dangerous situation because Gu Chensha of the Dragonless Cabinet has collected more than 20 inexhaustible treasures. His ambition is to collect all the inexhaustible treasures, open the gate to the heavenly realm, and then seize the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. And if he finds you, he will definitely take your inexhaustible treasures immediately, and then demote you to a mortal, making your life worse than death." The transparent man in the robe was very friendly to Gao Yuanxin. "I know that the Dragonless Cabinet, the former Calming Fairy Department, has collected a lot of inexhaustible treasures, and there is a lot of news about it. But they advertise that whether it is the reincarnation of inexhaustible treasures or the reincarnation of stars, they are all bound by fate, and must give up these to cultivate to the highest level," Gao Yuanxin said doubtfully. "I am Heavenly King Dong Hua." The transparent man in the robe said, "As long as you are saved by me, at least Gu Chensha will have one less inexhaustible treasure to collect. At that time, his plan will be delayed, and we will have more time to arrange and prepare. You can also see that now the heavenly way has shrunk, and all the power is gathered on the Emperor of Heaven. The myriad world is no longer under supervision, and people's cultivation will be different every day. In a few years, the divine prefecture will be full of masters, and naturally they will not believe the Dragonless Cabinet, and their court will collapse on its own. At that time, the Emperor of Heaven will appear again, and he can easily suppress them. So it is Heavenly King Dong Hua." Gao Yuanxin dropped to his knees. "Greetings, my lord. I am the reincarnation of Infinity Treasure. When the Heavenly Court is established, I will be an official of the Heavenly Court, one of the 36 generals who will guard the throne of the Emperor of Heaven. They are under Master's jurisdiction." "It seems that you are not bad," Dong Hua Sky King said. "You immediately understood your identity and mission. You are much more clear-headed than some of the other reincarnations of endless treasures. Those people betrayed their mission, and it will be difficult for them to die even if they wanted to. They will fall into hell forever, enduring endless pain and torture for millions of years. Heavenly King, you have to be careful. The Dragonless Cabinet is extremely powerful, especially Gu Chensha. He even devoured the School of Jin's Heavenly King and recruited the disciplinary Heavenly King as his subordinate. If they notice you, I'm afraid they'll try to kill you," Gao Yuanxin hurriedly warned. "That's right. Gu Chensha has been looking for us all this time, but his current strength is still lacking. How can he find where I am?" Heavenly King Dong Hua sneered. "This guy is powerful. I know that he is about to take my Hongmeng tree, but that is just wishful thinking. All right, come with me. Now that you are in the Divine Prefecture, you will be in great danger if you stay even a breath longer." "What about the other reincarnations of Infinity Treasures?" Gao Yuanxin said. "I can't let these brothers fall into the hands of Gu Chensha. Otherwise, his tyrannical power will only grow. If he finds the throne of the Emperor of Heaven, then there will be no hope in the future. Everyone in the world will truly fall into a situation of certain death. They will be fooled and fooled by him, believing in his idea that everyone is an anomaly and that everyone can transcend. In the end, it will lead to the collapse of the world, and there will be no order. Yes, the world itself should be divided into many levels. Only with many levels will there be the existence of desire, and only with desire will there be progress, pushing the heavenly path forward as a whole. But Gu Chencha's idea is nothing more than destruction. In the end, everyone will welcome their own destruction. Heavenly King Dong Hua rolled up his sleeves and swept Gao Yuanxin up. Then, he quietly left the divine prefecture and the four wild. In the next moment they came to an extremely remote place in the heavenly realm. This place was filled with ancient stone mountains, and not even a blade of grass grew. Every stone was extremely huge, and the stone itself was the color of green jade. It was an extremely precious and supreme jade. 09 Small Say Net. 09 At a glance, this place was filled with such jade mountains, almost endless and boundless. The jade here. Gao Yuanxin was stunned. Every piece of jade here is priceless. I have never seen such beautiful jade. For example, the jade sold by the calming deity department is much more precious. This is the chaos precious jade refined from the chaos. Heavenly King Dong Hua said, "Your cultivation is extremely shallow right now. You haven't even cultivated your spiritual power, and you don't even know that you have the endless eye. If I didn't enlighten you, you would still be in danger. However, I will help you quickly improve your cultivation. It is very easy to cultivate now. With my help, you can quickly cultivate to the Celestial Lord realm, or even Celestial Life realm, or even Celestial Origin realm." Really? I am now at the level of big and small transformation of Tao realm. I haven't broken through to the level of 20. Gao Yuanxin said, "If I can cultivate to the God realm, it will be a huge extravagant hope. I can actually cultivate to the Celestial Lord realm?" Of course, the Celestial Lord realm was very difficult in the past, but it is much easier now. Heavenly King Dong Hua said, "I will now teach you an extremely powerful technique, called the Celestial Court Ruling Human Spell. Man is the spirit of all things, and the human heart is unpredictable. This technique controls the human heart and makes it conform to the heavenly path. It is extremely perfect. After cultivating this technique, your progress will be very fast." Really? Celestial Court Ruling Human Spell? Just at that moment a voice rang out, "This technique is quite interesting. It was comprehended by the Emperor of Heaven, right? He has already appeared and is still hiding in the future. I didn't predict the birth of this technique. It seems like the future has changed." "Who?" Heavenly King Dong Hua shuddered. He turned around and saw a young man dressed in luxurious clothes. He was carefree and he could do whatever he wanted. Gu Chensha. Gu Chensha looked at Heavenly King Dong Hua. "As expected, you have infiltrated our calming immortal department. If I am not wrong, you should be someone called Meng Xing. You had a rather high position in the original calming immortal department. You were one of the people in charge of the Wildlands Chamber of Commerce. You were in charge of contacting the demons, purchasing their treasures, and exporting all sorts of pills, treasures, weapons, and armor to the calming immortal department. In the Wildlands there were many demonic beasts. Over the years they had been attacking humans. Thus, the original Calming Immortal Bureau had formulated a series of methods to divide the demonic beasts. They had instigated wars among the demonic beasts and supported factions among the demonic beasts to fight against each other. During the battles, the strength of the demonic beasts would constantly weaken. Then, they would plunder the resources of the demonic beasts, causing the demonic beasts to run out of resources. In the end, they could only rely on humans. There was an organization in the Calming Immortal Department that specialized in studying and dealing with the demons. One of them, Meng Xing, was very talented and had made many contributions to the Calming Immortal Department. Now, it seemed that this person was actually a substitute for Heavenly King Donghua. Gu Chensha, you actually found this place after all. The transparent man in the long robe, Heavenly King Donghua, calmed down. Immediately, he knew that he was in great danger. He did not think that he could deal with Gu Chensha. He was well aware of Gu Chensha's current cultivation. Even if the 9 heavenly kings gathered together at their peak, and the Lord of the Sun and Moon were at their peak, they would not be able to deal with the current Gu Chensha. After becoming a celestial lord, Gu Chensha was already an invincible existence, apart from the Emperor Heaven. If it were not for Gu Chensha, the current Yonko and the Dragonless Cabinet would have long been destroyed. There was no way to control the situation. Unknowingly, Gu Chensha already had the embryonic form and power of the heavenly talisman Great Emperor. Heavenly King Donghua, are you going to surrender without a fight, or do you want me to do it? As for you, Gao Yuanxin, I will not blame you for insulting the imperial court. But you are also trying to stir up chaos in the world, following the remnants of the future heavenly court to create chaos. I cannot tolerate you, Gu Chensha said, looking at Gao Yuanxin. You Yonko are the remnants, defying the heavens and rebelling against the Tao. In the future, when the heavenly court is established, the myriad realms will usher in order, live in harmony, and finally enjoy a long period of peace. At this time, Gao Yuanxin made up his mind. He was not afraid of Gu Chensha at all. Your imperial court, the Celestial Tranquility Department, the Dragonless Cabinet, are the real rebels and remnants. Now, I want to set things right with the officials of the heavenly court, so that you can no longer bewitch the hearts of the people and cause trouble here. The winner takes all, and the loser takes all. It is meaningless to say who is the remnant, who is defying the heavens and rebelling against the Tao. Gu Chensha was very patient. Heavenly King Donghua, the divine prefecture has been suppressed by me, and the heavenly court cannot rise. What can you do? In my opinion, why don't you go back and inform the Celestial Larch to come out and fight with me? If he loses, he will naturally be devoured by me. Then, I will win. You are all remnants of the Celestial Larch. If I lose, all the victory belongs to you. How about it? This way, it is simple and clear. Don't worry, the Emperor of Heaven will come out and fight you sooner or later. Heavenly King Donghua laughed coldly. But not now. You have also discovered that you are not in a good position. As time passes, your control over the divine prefecture will become weaker and weaker. In the end, you will be deserted by everyone, and your power will also become weaker and weaker. At that time, the Emperor of Heaven will come out to deal with you. Right now, the Emperor of Heaven does not want to deal with you. He has more important things to do, and that is to kill Gu Taxian, or to let the heavenly Tao devour Gu Taxian. As for you, you will die by yourself. You will not be taken seriously by the Emperor of Heaven. Very well. Gu Chensha nodded. If that is the case, then I will reduce all the remaining heavenly kings to mortals and seize their source. Let's see if he can still hold back and not come out to be a turtle hiding in its shell. Mobile users, please browse M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 876. 1 second remember 09, providing you with exciting reading. Chapter 873. Foresight, Gu Chensha, you're so fierce. Aren't you afraid that you'll die without a burial in the future? Gao Yuanxin was furious. You actually want to destroy the future heavenly court. This is actually the end of the world. Without the heavenly court to maintain order, the world will collapse, and everyone will cease to exist. If you stop your foolish actions now, the world can still be saved. Heavenly King Donghua, this kid knows nothing. He thinks he's the reincarnation of the infinity treasure. Gu Chensha smiled. I know that the you in front of me is not your real body. Your real body has already merged with the Hong Meng tree and is hidden. But do you think I can't find you? How can you find me? With those 3 useless celestial venerables? The transparent man in the long robe, Heavenly King Donghua's incarnation, sneered. Not necessarily, Gu Chunsha said. Those 3 celestial venerables are traitors. On the surface, they've pledged allegiance to me, but in reality, they've already followed you and are ready to plot against me at any time. Isn't that right? But with their little cultivation, they're trying to win from both sides. They're simply digging their own graves. The 3 celestial venerables had originally pledged allegiance to Gu Chunsha, and Gu Chunsha had even set up some kind of restriction on them. But Gu Chunsha knew that the 3 celestial venerables had no loyalty at all. They were as cunning as the great spirit god. The 3 celestial venerables had long pledged allegiance to Heavenly King Donghua, and even received some kind of blessing from the Emperor of Heaven. They were still deceiving him, but Gu Chunsha treated them as clowns. The 3 celestial venerables still had some fate in them, so Gu Chunsha wasn't going to kill them. From Gu Chensha's point of view, the 3 celestial venerables hadn't fully fattened up yet. Once they were, he could kill them. The 3 celestial venerables wouldn't be loyal to anyone, not even the Emperor of Heaven. They would absorb the fate of the Emperor of Heaven's camp to strengthen themselves. This way, it was equivalent to weakening the future strength of the Heavenly Court. Now that the future Emperor of Heaven of the Heavenly Court was in hiding, Gu Chunsha had devoured the origin of the Gate Gene Heavenly King, and the Punisher Heavenly King was under his control. The other Heavenly Kings, such as the Innocuous Heavenly King, the Blazing Heavenly King, the Calamity Heavenly King, the Chaotic Heavenly King, the Grand Overarching Heavenly King, the Donghua Heavenly King, and the Wisdom Heavenly King were all against him. However, their strength was nothing compared to the Heavenly Venerate Gu Chunsha. 09 Small Say Net. 09 Gu Chunsha was going to use the force of a thunderbolt to eradicate all the Heavenly Kings. In the future, the backbone of the Heavenly Court would be the 9 Heavenly Kings, the Master of the Sun and Moon. If he subdued the 9 Heavenly Kings, the future fate of the Heavenly Court would be further weakened, and the power of the Emperor of Heaven would be reduced. This would create more opportunities for Gu Chunsha to defeat the Emperor of Heaven. However, Gu Chunsha knew that the battle between him and the Emperor of Heaven in the future would be extremely tragic. Even if the Emperor of Heaven lost everything, it would not be easy for him to defeat him. This had already involved some kind of battle of the highest realm. Whoever won would win the eternal future. This was so important that Gu Chunsha knew that if he wanted to win, he would have to pay a terrible price and suffer unbearable pain in the end. Of course, he would not compromise because of this. At this point, he could not compromise. He had to go all the way. Go! The transparent man in the robe, Heavenly King Donghua, had long known that Gu Chensha's power was monstrous. Now that he had found him, even if it was only an incarnation, he must not let it fall into his hands. Otherwise, with the means of the other party, he could refine this incarnation and find the location of his real body. Buzz, Heavenly King Donghua unfolded his robe and wrapped Gao Yuanxin. Then, he began to flee quickly. However, with a slight movement of his body, Gu Chunsha had already turned into an article, a picture scroll, covering the sky and the earth. It slowly unfolded, covering the sky and the earth, completely sealing off this place. It seemed that at this moment, the laws of the heaven realm had lost any effect under his tyrannical power. Instead, all the ideas and laws of Gu Chensha's Dragonless Heart Sutra were replaced. After becoming a celestial lord, Gu Chensha's combat power had in fact surpassed that of the Divine Essence realm, and he had the taste of competing with the heaven realm. Kill! Heavenly King Donghua's robe suddenly flew up and turned into a huge tree. This tree grew strong and strong, absorbing all the vitality, interfering with the expansion of Gu Chensha's Dragonless Heart Sutra, and even began to absorb Gu Chensha's energy and cultivation. primordial transformation, giving birth to all things. Khanate supremacy, god of the Tao. Heavenly King Dong Hua pointed with a backhand finger. Suddenly, thousands of fruits formed on the tree. These fruits were actually Khanate spiritual treasures. Countless Khanate spiritual treasures shook slightly, flew out, and then gathered together, exploding one after another. In the end, they exploded everywhere, shattering the Khanate world into chaos. Endless explosions combined, and it was even more powerful than the primordial dragon thunder. In itself, the primordial tree was the strongest of the three magic treasures, surpassing the sacrificial decree and the primordial dragon gate. Oh! Primordial transformation, path of primordial chaos. No wonder you are ranked third, Heavenly King Dong Hua. You do pose some threat to me. Unfortunately, this is still useless. Even if you use the real primordial tree, I can still collect it directly. Gu Chench's Dragonless Heart Sutra wrapped inside. Shameless boasting. Heavenly King Dong Hua said, Gu Chensha, you are only here as a clone. Actually, I know what your real body is doing. It is suppressing the divine prefecture and the four wildernesses. Your real body wants to circulate its cultivation and collect the four wildernesses, but it is extremely difficult. Apart from that, the changes in the divine prefecture will gradually become more and more difficult for you to suppress. Moreover, the trends in the country are constantly changing. As time passes, you will not be able to keep up. This clone of yours cannot suppress me at all. Wisdom, Zenith Heaven, Chaos, hurry up and help me out. As Heavenly King Dong Hua shouted, 3 beams of light suddenly appeared. As the 3 beams of light changed violently, they turned into a huge mass of chaos, a net-like mass and a brain-like thing. The manifestation of these 3 things was the Chaos, Zenith Heaven, and the Clone of Wisdom. The 4 heavenly kings all gathered together, each of them circulating their own transformations and unleashing their strongest attacks. Useless chickens and dogs. Gu Chensha sneered. If you 9 heavenly kings join forces and gather together to form the great formation of the future celestial court, you might be able to withstand it. Apart from that, you guys are no match for me at all. As Gu Chensha was speaking, the dragonless cultivation technique circulated continuously. It was unknown where the power had come from, but it suddenly expanded by 10 times. Rumble. First, Heavenly King Dong Hua's clone fell within, and then the Heavenly King of Wisdom's brain clone fell into the Dragonless Heart Sutra's chapter. On the other hand, the clones of Chaos and Zenith Heaven suddenly exploded. It was unknown what secret technique they used, but they actually sacrificed themselves to prevent Gu Chensha from grabbing their clones. In other words, they had the ability to self-destruct in front of Gu Chensha. Gather. Gu Chensha moved slightly, and the Dragonless Heart Sutra's chapter first wrapped around Heavenly King Dong Hua, Heavenly King of Wisdom, and Gao Yuanxin. Then, an endless amount of power circulated. The chapter of the Dragonless Heart Sutra wrapped around the 2 clones and Gao Yuanxin, absorbing all sorts of information. With a long roar, all of the power on Gao Yuanxin's body was absorbed by the Dragonless Heart Sutra, and the infinite I fell into his hands. After that, the clone of Heavenly King Dong Hua and Heavenly King of Wisdom were digested as well, and more information appeared on Gu Chench's body. Heavenly King Dong Hua, Heavenly King of Wisdom, I've caught hold of your true bodies. A smile appeared on Gu Chench's face. He then looked at Gao Yuanxin, who had turned into an ordinary person. Gao Yuanxin, our imperial court has not treated you badly. To think that you would hate us so much. I really don't understand. Back then, you were just a farmer and your family was oppressed for generations. But after our dynasty was established, we gave you education and martial arts, allowing you to become a cultivator. And yet, you have a deep hatred for our imperial court. If this isn't ingratitude, then what is? These small favors of yours are nothing compared to the righteousness of the heavenly Tao. Gao Yuanxin cursed out, Gu Qinsha, even if you've taken away my infinite eye, you can't make me submit. Righteousness of the heavenly Tao? Gu Qinsha shook his head. You're just an ordinary person now. If our imperial court doesn't protect you, you'll be devoured by the demons immediately. You'll be harmed by the demons, and you'll be oppressed by the other immortal cultivators. But now that you have our imperial court, you can still lead a peaceful life. As he spoke, his body moved slightly, sending Gao Yuanxin back into the divine prefecture. Gu Qinsha had no intention of killing Gao Yuanxin. To him, a small fry like Gao Yuanxin was not worth killing. Moreover, he was no longer killing people now. To him, killing people was meaningless. Once he defeated the Emperor of Heaven, everything would move according to his will. In fact, he could even change the hearts of people. After absorbing 2 clones and getting the infinite eye, my dragonless mental magic is a bit more complete. But it's still not enough. Last time, I only got 99% of the knowledge of the ancient civilization, so my dragonless mental magic isn't complete. If I can get the complete knowledge of the ancient civilization and the secrets of the one God system, I'll be able to reach the heavenly longevity level. If I devour the system and the battleship, I'll be able to reach the heaven origin level. Gu Qinsha calculated. Right now, the system and the battleship have chosen the ancient mystical sand, which is still within Father's control. The ancient mystical sand can't do anything right, but it can only spoil things. When the bloodline in his body slowly seeps into the battleship, causing the battleship system to be unknowingly infiltrated by the Gu family's bloodline, the system will not be able to turn back. By this point, Gu Qinsha was looking at things from Gu Taxian's point of view. He was looking at the Tao of Heaven. Other than him, no one could possibly contend with him. Mobile users, please browse M. Read for a better reading experience. Chapter 877. Gu Qinsha did some calculations and had already deduced where Heavenly King Donghua and Heavenly King Wisdom were hiding. He was about to head over and suppress them, extracting Heavenly King Wisdom's origin and putting Heavenly King Donghua's Hongmeng tree into his body. With the 3 treasures combined, he could unleash great power. But at this moment, news came from the Dragonless Cabinet, forcing him to return to deal with some matters. Whoosh! Gu Qinsha's clone went directly to the Dragonless Cabinet. The Dragonless Cabinet was now the real authority of the court. And the Dragonless Cabinet was now built in Sin Province City, the real center of the divine prefecture. It was neither the old capital city nor the new capital city of the wilderness. Back then, Heavenly Talisman Great Emperor moved the capital outside the pass, which led to the shift of the world's power. The wilderness was rapidly developed, and everyone gained great benefit. But now the situation had changed. The biggest war was no longer the war between humans and the barbarians, but the war between humans and demons. The focus of the common people was once again on the demon region. Sin Province City was now the most prosperous place in the world. Countless layers of the demon region were attacked by humans, and countless demons were killed and plundered, becoming human resources. The battlefield in the demon region also gave humans great training. In the battle between humans and demons, humans had gained the upper hand. They used the countless layers of the demon region as a training ground and a hunting ground. This was something that had never happened since ancient times. Therefore, the fate of the world and the fate of the human nation were all gathered in Sin Province City. Gu Qinsha and the others naturally had to establish a cabinet in Sin Province City to manage the world and suppress the divine prefecture. We have a person called Zhang Ziren in our Department of Tranquility. Is he the reincarnation of the Endless Flame? After he woke up, he immediately reported that he was willing to offer the Endless Flame to the country. Gu Qinsha arrived in the Dragonless Cabinet. Lu Baiwei Zhuge Wenhong Gu Huasha Longevity God, Chang Weiyang, Chang Yuzhou Warrior Sage, and the other higher-ups were all there. They were handling their own affairs, monitoring the changes in the Four Wilds, the Divine Prefecture, and the depths of the demon region. The situation in the world was changing with each passing day. Countless Tao realm cultivators were born almost every moment. Apart from that, it was extremely easy for humans to ascend. After many people advanced to the Tao realm, they directly cultivated the 9 bulls and 2 tigers, copper skin and iron bones, gold devouring stone, spirit gathering 100 apertures, innate earth chi, and other transformations. If this went on, in less than a year, the world would be filled with experts. Even the common people would be able to completely break away from the mortal world. All of them would reach the Tao realm, and all of them would be able to cultivate innate stellar energy, allowing them to fly. In this way, not only would the destiny of the country increase, but it would also bring about a series of troubles. People were not satisfied. Everyone had ambitions and desires. This was something that could not be changed. Even the heavenly Tao could not change it. Naturally, Gu Chernsha could not do anything about it. As the strength of the people grew, so did their ambitions. If there were too many ambitious people, it would instead weaken the destiny of the country. It didn't mean that the stronger the people of a country were, the stronger the country's fate would be. On the contrary, in the power tactics of the emperors of the past, there were times when the people had to be ignorant and weak. Even some supreme principles say that the people can only have their stomach filled, but not their intelligence. Zhang Ziren, come up. At that moment, Lu Baiwe saw that Gu Chernsha had arrived. She gave some instructions and instantly, a young man was brought into the hall. He had red lips and white teeth, and he looked like an elegant young man. He had a calm demeanor, but deep down, he was extremely hot-blooded. One look and one could tell that he was a young man who had been influenced by the ideals of the calming celestial department. The calming celestial department had groomed many such hot-blooded young men. They were the foundations of the future, the pillars of the country. The moment this hot-blooded young man called Zhang Ziren entered and saw Lu Baiwe, Gu Chernsha, and the others, a look of worship and shock appeared on his face. Pata. He knelt down on one knee and a ball of flames appeared in his hand. Subordinate Zhang Ziren has recently awakened the boundless flame. It turns out that I am the reincarnation of the boundless flame. However, I know that this boundless flame is a great restriction for me. Therefore, I am willing to give up this boundless flame and offer it to the country. Very good. Gu Chernsha's eyes repeatedly looked at this Zhang Ziren. He didn't collect the endless flame, but rather, he was observing his past and future. After a long time, Gu Chernsha finally spoke. As expected, you are a good young man. Only when there are more young men like you will there be hope for our imperial court and the world. You took the initiative to give up the endless flame for the sake of the world. You should be clear on what exactly the endless 36 treasures are. Your subordinate is very clear. Your subordinate has diligently studied the recent Heavenly Talisman tome, and there are many secrets about the endless 36 treasures. These treasures are related to the secret of the birth of the Emperor of Heaven in the future, as well as the changes in the Divine Prefecture. In other words, if the endless 36 treasures were to fall into the hands of ambitious people, it might cause the Divine Prefecture to once again experience a calamity, causing us to lose our homeland. This is something I will absolutely not allow. Zhang Ziren's voice was powerful and resonant. Hence, I hope that the Imperial Court can gather the endless 36 treasures as soon as possible, and then completely refine the Divine Prefecture, causing the Heavenly Court to be unable to appear in the future, causing the birth of the Emperor of Heaven to die in the womb. For you to have such thoughts, it seems like you have truly comprehended the quintessence of our dragonless Tao. In that case, if you give up the endless flame, it will be a great merit, but your personal strength will also be greatly weakened. Our imperial court is very fair in its rewards and punishment. We will not let you suffer losses, and in fact, we will even allow you to improve tremendously. Gu Chernsha clasped his hands together, and instantly, the endless flame landed in his hands. It rotated slightly and disappeared, merging into the Dragonless Heart Sutra. After that, Gu Chernsha made a grabbing motion again, and an article appeared, constantly changing and circulating. Finally, with a flash of golden light, it fell into the body of this Zhang Ziren. The body of Zhang Ziren changed bit by bit, and with a single thought, another ball of flame was born from within his body. The power of this flame was extremely great, as if it could sweep through the heavens and refine all things. Its power surpassed that of the endless flame that had just been given up. This is the dragonless flame, and its power surpasses that of the endless flame. Furthermore, it can also temper your body, allowing your cultivation base to quickly reach the godly level, saint level, and even the celestial lord level. Gu Chernsha said, "This flame can still grow. As long as you circulate your own spirit and thoughts, and use the Dragonless Heart Sutra to refine the dragonless chi that surpasses the heavenly Taos, you will be able to make this flame even stronger. Indeed, my power has increased by at least twofold. The profoundness of this flame far surpasses that of the endless flame. To be honest, this flame contains secrets that surpass the heavenly Taos, and it has made me understand that only the human heart can surpass the heavenly Taos." Zhang Ziren circulated the dragonless flame in his body, and an expression of extreme surprise appeared on his face. This flame has seized the profoundness of the heavenly Taos, and has the effect of endless cycles. It can break through the ancient times, and is invincible like the sun and the moon. That's right. Since you've already comprehended it, you can also use this flame to contact the dragonless gourd. If you encounter any danger, this flame will automatically notify the dragonless gourd, and the power from the depths of the dragonless gourd will descend to protect you. Lu Baiwe said, "You've contributed by giving up this treasure, and I'll still promote you. Your position will be increased by 5 ranks, and your remuneration will be increased. You can also lead a department to patrol the country, and monitor those who are disobedient and ambitious." "Yes." Zhang Ziren prostrated himself. "I also know that the strength of the people in the country is increasing with every passing moment, and their ambitions are also growing. I need to monitor them well, persuade them, and influence them, so that they walk the right path and are united. Otherwise there will be chaos. Go." Gu Chernsha waved his hand. Zhang Ziren respectfully retreated. "What do you think of this kid?" Lu Baiwe asked Gu Chernsha. "This kid isn't simple, and he might not be the reincarnation of the endless flame. But in my divination, there's nothing wrong with him at all." Gu Chernsha's face was expressionless. "But now that I've cultivated to this realm, I can sense many things. As long as I improve further, I'll be able to observe everything. Let's not talk about this kid's problem." Lu Baiwe said, "We've done a lot of data analysis recently. Recently, there have been many Dao realm experts in the world, and the country's luck has increased. However, the country's luck is showing signs of being impure. Many people raise their cultivation levels, and their state of mind changes. The speed at which their ambitions grow is much faster than their cultivation. Recently, across the entire country, there have been several tens of people who have secretly attained a breakthrough to the divine level. The moment these people attained a breakthrough to the divine level, deep in their hearts, the ambition to rule over the world, to become kings and emperors arose. Although they did not express it, we could sense the core of their hearts. Perhaps they were suppressing it, but there was no way for them to suppress such thoughts. But we can't punish these people because of this. After all, it's just too preposterous to judge people based on their thoughts and sudden thought. This is also the greatest challenge the heavenly Tao has given us." Gu Chernsha looked at the numerous records of data and understood everything. "I will solve this matter completely. A person's thoughts are ever changing, and no one can control what they will think in the next moment. Their thoughts and emotions will rise and fall. Even the heavenly venerables, heavenly longevity realm, heavenly essence realm, and even the heaven realm will have their own thoughts. We basically can't stop this. But now that we can monitor the emotional changes of the people in the world, it can be considered a great improvement. We can grasp the hearts of the people at any time and choose the direction to correct them. Based on our calculations, in another year, the country's luck will go downhill. Who knows how many ambitious people will appear in the world? Many people will break away from the structure of the imperial court and even become kings and emperors. Their ambitions can't be suppressed, and when their ambitions expand, they can even burn themselves into ashes. When Hong sighed and said, "Actually, with us sitting in this position now, countless people will be envious of us. They will think of pulling us down and taking control themselves." Chapter 878. Look, this is the fate of the Yonkoes nation. In a certain secret place within the endless mainland, a gigantic crystal ball was formed out of nowhere. Within that crystal ball was a map of the four wilds and the divine prefecture. Surrounding the crystal ball were a few people. They were none other than Gu Tanjian, Gu Chongjian, Xian Xian, Gu Hua, and Jing Qiu, who had escaped earlier on. After the five of them had triggered the tribulations, they did not manage to succeed. Even now, the four wilds were being suppressed by Gu Chernsha, such that they could not wreak havoc at all. Therefore, they could only flee like dogs that had lost their homes, hiding all over the place, not daring to get close to the four wilds and the divine prefecture at all. Xian Xian, Gu Hua, Gu Chongjian, and Jing Qiu had obtained the heart of the eastern wilderness, the heart of the desolate ocean, the heart of the savage wilderness, and the heart of the desolate desert respectively. When they joined forces, they were able to manipulate the source of the four wilds and affect the divine prefecture. For example, Gu Hua could even create countless disasters, causing the storms on the seas to sweep inland, causing the seawater to flow in reverse, turning the entire divine prefecture into an ocean. Furthermore, he was not only the lord of the desolate ocean, but also the heavenly king of calamities. When the two of them worked together, they could practically bring about endless tribulations to the divine prefecture. But right now, the power that Gu Chernsha had split out was enough to suppress the desolate ocean to the point that it could not move at all. Countless oceans were tranquil and the weather was favorable, causing the divine prefecture to be in a state of peace. Gu Hua could not create any disasters at all. In fact, he knew that the moment he entered the four wilds, he would be under the control of Gu Chensha's imperial court. In fact, he might even be suppressed, making it hard for him to escape. Therefore, these people were like bugs in the sewers, hiding everywhere. In the corners of the heaven realm, they plotted and schemed, trying to find an opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Gu Chernsha. The Yonkoes destiny is as red as fire, condensed into a corporeal form that can incinerate everything. It's millions and millions of times stronger than the destiny of the previous dynasties. With the support of this destiny, it's no wonder Gu Chernsha was able to cultivate to such a level, and even pose a threat to the heavenly court in the future. However, look, there are hidden dangers within this destiny. Within that fiery red destiny, there are many black tribulations. These black tribulations are the ambitions of humans. Jing Qiu pointed at the eternal dynasty of the four wastelands in the crystal ball and said, "Look, these are the evidence." As expected, when Xian Xian and the others looked over, they discovered that in the midst of the nation's fortune that was engulfing the world like flames, there were many black auras that resembled insects being born. After these black auras were born, they were refined by the nation's fortune. But following that, more and more black auras appeared. Refining one strand gave birth to 10 strands. Refining 10 strands gave birth to 100 strands. These people were all peerless experts at the heavenly longevity realm. Naturally, they knew what was going on. Ah! Xian Xian laughed. With this, the heavenly Daos will change, and the divine prefecture will be filled with heroes. When the time comes, everyone will be an expert. Let's see how that Gu Qinsha can suppress the ambitions of humans. We just need to wait and see, and the imperial court will fall into chaos. Putting out fires everywhere will only bring trouble to ourselves. That's right. We need to wait and see. At this time, a voice rang out. The five looked over and saw a few people. The Great Spirit God, Immortal Teacher Wan, God Mahakasyapa, and the chaotic world demonic deity Ape. 4 people came, led by Mighty Miracle God. Especially when Jing Qiu saw the Mighty Miracle God, he was instantly shocked because he discovered that the Mighty Miracle God's aura was completely different. On the surface, there didn't seem to be anything, but upon closer inspection, the great thousand energy surging from the Mighty Miracle God's body encompassed the 8 Desolaces and devoured the universe, growing and multiplying endlessly. It was actually no longer the heavenly longevity realm, but the heaven origin realm. The Great Spirit God, you've broken through to the divine essence realm? That means you're the first living being to break through to the divine essence realm? Jing Qiu's hands trembled. That's right. I've successfully broken through to the divine essence realm. The Great Spirit God smiled. From the start of the Heavenly Talisman 36 years, the Heavenly Tao stopped monitoring the world, and I broke through because of this. However, even though I had broken through to the heaven primordial realm, I was still no match for Gu Qinsha. Hence, I could only endure it. I didn't want to be protected by the Gate Gene Heavenly King and the Gate Gene Heavenly King, but even the Gate Gene Heavenly King and the Gate Gene Heavenly King were devoured by Gu Qinsha. Fortunately, we managed to escape and were alerted earlier, allowing us to receive guidance from an expert. Otherwise, I'm afraid we would still be trapped in the dragonless gourd, praying and worshipping every day, unable to escape. That's right. There are about 2,000 true gods gathered in the dragonless gourd. Gu Qinsha can rely on this to receive a large number of sacrifices to maintain his body's operation and cultivation base. God Maha said, "This person's power is already established. We can't go against him for now, so we can only work together to prevent him from bringing about his own destruction. Are we going to establish another alliance?" Xian Xian said with a strange expression. The alliance that we established in the Black Heaven and Earth sect collapsed in an instant. The Celestial Master was captured, and so was my ancestor Heaven and Earth. Now the entire sect is in Gu Qinsha's hands, and the Eastern Baron is stable. Even if I'm recognized by the Eastern Baron Heart, I can't use the power of the Eastern Baron anymore. If this goes on, the 4 barons will definitely be suppressed by Gu Qinsha. Wan Senshi, you used to be one of us. What do you think now? That little bastard Gu Qinsha is full of qi. We can't defeat him for now, but sooner or later, we'll suppress him and watch him die a miserable death. Wan Senshi's face darkened. Xian Xian, your heart of infinity is in his hands now, and you can't use the power of the Eastern Baron anymore. You're very weak now. You have to be careful of being plotted against. Don't worry, I have a way to protect myself, Xian Xian said. Xian Xian said, however, it's necessary for us to stop scheming against each other. We have to let go of all our past grievances. Also, we're following the future heavenly court. I think you're here today because you've received instructions from a heavenly king? That's right. We've been instructed by chaotic heavenly king and heavenly king Daluo to join forces and cultivate a formation. The Great Spirit God said, once this formation is completed, the qi of the divine prefecture will become denser, and the heavenly court of the divine prefecture will be activated. It will allow the people with the bloodline of the divine prefecture to cultivate faster, and then they'll understand that they're the strong men of the heavenly court. That way, the imperial court will fall apart. So it has such a magical effect? If that's the case, let's join together, Gu Tanjian said happily. None of you need to join. Join my side. At that moment, another person appeared in front of them. This person was very powerful, and it seemed like even the calamity of the universe couldn't do anything to him. It was the Crown Prince, Gu Xiansha. Gu Xiansha, why are you here? Weren't you imprisoned? Gu Tanjian said. My good nephew and son, don't you care about your uncle and father? Gu Xiansha looked at Gu Changjian with a sinister smile on his face. Gu Changjian was Gu Xuansha's son, but Gu Changjian was the reincarnation of Infinity Blade. All these years, he'd been plotting against Gu Xiansha and obtained the heart of man. Because of that, his relationship with Gu Xiansha had faded a lot. Congratulations on escaping, father. Gu Changjian carefully sensed Gu Xuansha's aura, but he couldn't see through it. In the past and the future, Gu Xiansha didn't exist. He was shocked. He knew that Gu Xiansha must have had a miraculous encounter. Father, you were able to escape Gu Qiansha's suppression. You must have had a miraculous encounter. That's right. Gu Xiansha clasped his hands behind his back. I had a miraculous encounter, one that you can't imagine. I'm going to come out and take back what belongs to me. I'm the Crown Prince. If the Emperor isn't here, then the throne is mine. I'm the master of the divine prefecture, the master of the four wilds, the master of the heaven world, the master of all worlds, the only master in history. Emperor Heaven, Gu Qiansha, they'll all be suppressed, captured, and devoured by me. Crazy, crazy. God Maha frowned. He felt that things weren't good. What? You don't believe me? You don't want to be under me? Crown Prince Gu Xiansha moved his body, and suddenly, a ray of light covered everything. In the overwhelming light, no one could move, including mighty Miracle God, who had just reached the divine origin realm. Under Gu Xuansha's light, they were like ants in front of a stormy sea. They couldn't fight back at all. This is the power of the prehistoric civilization, the Great Spirit God roared. Yes, the Great Spirit God, you know what's good for you, Gu Xiansha said proudly. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha said proudly, submit to me, and I'll give you more power. The prehistoric civilization didn't collapse even after the heavenly tribulation. This shows how vast this civilization is. As long as you submit to me, even if you fail, you can rise again in the next era. The most important thing is that in this era, I can replace the future heavenly court and devour the Emperor Heaven and Gu Qiansha to obtain the strongest power. You'll have a great future if you follow me. Do you understand? What if we don't want to? The chaotic demon god ape struggled. Then die. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha said, although I really need your power of worship, if you don't surrender to me, I will immediately kill you and turn you into puppets and magic treasures. With you as the foundation, I can definitely refine the strongest puppet. I'm willing to surrender. The Great Spirit God was the first to make his stand. Xian Xian was still struggling. From the bottom of his heart, he definitely wanted to kill all the people who had the blood of Gu Taxian. However, he was ambitious but not talented. He had been killed before, and now after his resurrection, he had not achieved any success. Instead, one wrong step led to many wrong steps. In the end, he ended up like a stray dog. He wanted to kill Gu Xiansha in front of him, but the situation was stronger than him. In the end, he suppressed his hatred and said, I'm also willing to surrender. Very good. Gu Hua, Jingqiu, you are the reincarnations of the Heavenly King. Will you surrender? Gu Xiansha asked again. You can watch all kinds of things you want to watch. Chapter 879. Chapter 876. Establishing the Crown Prince's might apart from being Desolate Sea's idea, Gu Hua was also the reincarnation of the Heavenly King of Calamities. Jing Qiu was the desolate lord and the innocuous heavenly king. His innocuous heavenly king's origin had come from Jing Fanxing, but it seemed that the heavenly Tao had already recognized him as the innocuous heavenly king's clone. In addition, Jing Qiu was the reincarnation of the Endless River. If it weren't for the fact that he was opposing Gu Chunxia, Jing Qiu's life would have been smooth sailing. However, his ambition hadn't died. He had always wanted to overthrow the world. He had been the first to raise a flag in rebellion, so he had always been at a disadvantage against Gu Chunxia. Now he couldn't even use the desolate lord's origin. He had lost his greatest support, and the Holy Sama Empire was prepared to give up. He couldn't fight against Gu Chunxia. However, he wouldn't give up. He would oppose Gu Chunxia again and again. This time, Crown Prince Gu Xianxia had to subdue everyone. Deep down, Jing Qiu was actually the most resistant. He hated the Gu family the most, and his desire to overthrow the Gu family was even greater than Xuanxin's. However, the situation was stronger than he was, so he could only endure. Otherwise, Gu Xianxia would definitely kill him and take all his origin. No one could protect him. I am willing to submit. Jing Qiu lowered his head. Good, very good. You will all become my subordinates. In the future, the Emperor of Heaven and the Heavenly Court will have nothing to do with each other. I have obtained all the teachings and power of the prehistoric civilization. Right now, I am the only powerful existence in the world, and I have status and righteousness. After all, I am the Crown Prince. Gu Chunxia, Lu Baiwei, and the others used their power to deprive me of my position. This is illegal and not recognized by the people. Now, the people's resentment is boiling. That way we still have a good chance. Not only will Gu Chunxia and the Emperor of Heaven fight to the death, we can also take advantage of the situation. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia said, that way the world will be under our control. After you join me, your status will definitely surpass the heavenly kings in the future. Everyone looked at each other and said helplessly, we will follow the Crown Prince's lead. Ha, good, very good. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia laughed and said, your cultivation is extremely weak to me, but to 99% of the experts in the world, you are already peerless experts. Now, while worshipping me, he is also bringing me to capture other experts, such as Heavenly King Primal Chaos, Heavenly King Grand Firmament, Heavenly King East Flower, and Heavenly King Wisdom. After that, I will capture the Master of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tianxia, and the Great Burning Heavenly King. As long as I have all of them under my command, I can use my own bloodline to invade the prehistoric civilization system and completely master this Tao. However, it's impossible for us to completely grasp the whereabouts of Primal Chaos, Zenith Heaven, East Flower, and Wisdom. These four heavenly kings are extremely powerful, and we have no way of finding them. We can only passively accept their orders, the Great Spirit God said hurriedly. The Great Spirit God, you are now in the divine primordial realm. Even in the future, your cultivation will be enough to shock the heavens. Don't show weakness in front of me now. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia knew the Great Spirit God very well. In his opinion, the Great Spirit God was also very unreliable, but he felt that his power could completely suppress him. Using this person's cunning to deal with Gu Chunxia was perfect. Your Highness, we need to expand our power now. If we want to squash a persimmon, we have to find a weak one. Primal Chaos, Zenith Heaven, East Flower, and Wisdom have Emperor Heaven behind them. If we attack, we may be destroyed. Emperor Heaven is even more powerful than Gu Chunxia. The Great Spirit God's eyes flickered. No one knew what he was thinking. I think we should return to the Divine Land now, set up a banner, and regain what Crown Prince should have. More importantly, I know that the prehistoric civilization's orthodoxy also needs the power of sacrifice. From the sacrifice we can extract some substances that surpass the heavenly Tao. With these substances, Crown Prince will become stronger and stronger. The people of the divine land must be in our hand. Now is not the time. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha looked at the Great Spirit God coldly and showed his murderous intent. The Great Spirit God, you want me to fight to the death with Gu Xiansha? And then let Emperor Heaven take advantage of you. No matter what, you can rely on Emperor Heaven and become his subject. I didn't expect you to have such thoughts after submitting to me. You should be punished. Kneel down. Kaboom! A huge power exploded from Crown Prince Gu Xiansha and suppressed the Great Spirit God. The Great Spirit God screamed. Even though he had cultivated to the divine origin realm, he could only be suppressed by this huge power. He knelt down and could not move. Crown Prince, spare me. Spare me. The Great Spirit God hurriedly shouted, Crown Prince, you misunderstood me. I also hope that Crown Prince can control the people of the divine land as soon as possible. Only then can you break through to the highest realm. Humph! Crown Prince Gu Xiansha sneered and said, I will spare you this time for the sake of making use of you. Otherwise, I will definitely kill you. If you work for me honestly, don't blame me for being cruel and merciless. Do you hear me? He had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof. These people were all geniuses. They had thought that Crown Prince Gu Xiansha was a piece of trash. They did not expect that this piece of trash would suddenly rise to the top. They did not dare to be angry and dared to speak. They could only bow down. Gu Changjian, you are my son. If you don't listen to me and have other ideas, don't blame me for being righteous. Gu Xiansha looked at him. Yes, father. Gu Changjian had no other choice. Let's go. Gu Xiansha waved his hand. Suddenly, a light appeared. A small warship appeared between his eyebrows and sucked all the people present into the warship. The next moment, they all entered a blazing space. The space was filled with golden flames. The flames flickered and floated, showing the shape of a three-legged golden crow. This was the most terrible true fire. It could burn everything. Is he in the sun? Many people in the warship saw clearly and immediately knew what Gu Xiansha was doing there. The sun in the heaven realm shone on the infinite space. Even though the heaven realm was vast, the sun could still illuminate the world. Even though the Great Spirit God had reached the Tianyuan realm, he still did not dare to enter the sun alone. There were high and low Tianyuan realms. The Great Spirit God had just reached the Tianyuan realm. Compared to the sun in the heaven realm, he was much weaker. For example, the difference between a 7th-rank county magistrate and a 1st-rank prime minister was the same as the difference between the Great Spirit God and the sun in the heaven realm. However, although the sun in the heaven realm was strong, Gu Xiansha thought it was nothing. He had the protection of the warship and the system of the prehistoric civilization. The sun in the heaven realm was just a supplement to him. After entering the sun, Gu Xiansha felt the power that could burn everything. It was formed by the will of the heaven realm. It was no small matter. In theory, the power of the sun in the heaven realm was far greater than that of the primordial tree, the heaven sacrifice talisman, and the Your Wild's dragon gate. Therefore, the Lord of the Sun and the Moon was one of the strongest beings in the world, second only to the Emperor of Heaven. Sooner or later, I will refine this sun and integrate it into the system. Gu Xiansha was very ambitious. Gu Qiansha refined the Your Wild's dragon gate and the heaven sacrifice talisman. He is invincible now. If I completely refine the sun and the moon, it will be like stealing the will of the heaven realm. I will use the will of the heaven realm to power the warship and the system of the one God. I will be the God. The warship and the system of the one God have to recover their power. I have to devour the whole heaven realm. But to do that, I have to start with the divine continent, the sun and the moon. To do that, I have to go against the Emperor of Heaven and Gu Qiansha. I can't do that yet. I can only start with the sun and the moon. I will devour Lord of the Sun and the Moon and use their power to devour the Sun and the Moon. I want to see how the whole heaven realm will look like without the Sun and the Moon and the light. Buzz, while thinking, Gu Xiansha came to the center of the sun. There was an altar in the center of the sun. There was a man sitting on it. It was Gu Tiansha, the Lord of the Sun and the Moon. He was also the product of Gu Taxian's conflict with the heavenly Tao. The Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Tiansha, was cultivating on the altar. Boundless sacrificial power condensed into an ocean in front of him, and he was extracting some kind of substance from it. Suddenly, he felt someone approaching, so he opened his eyes. Gu Xiansha, I can't believe you came to me. Looks like even a salted fish can make a comeback. The Lord of the Sun and Moon, Gu Tiansha, stared at the Crown Prince, Gu Xiansha, and said, You have the entire system of the prehistoric civilization, but you are just a puppet. The prehistoric civilization system is using your bloodline and destiny to fight for the divine land. You will be devoured and refined by the system in the end. Quickly come to your senses and submit to me. We can share the system. Right now, the system is in a dormant state. You don't have much power from it, and it hasn't controlled you yet. As you get better at using it, your bloodline will fuse with it. In the end, the system will wake up and devour you. Your will be replaced, and you will fall forever. You won't even have a chance to revive. Do you know why the system chose you? It's not because you're really talented, it's because Gu Taxian made you the Crown Prince. You have Gu Taxian's blood flowing in your veins. The power in the bloodline isn't something you can understand. Ha 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 ha. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha laughed. Gu Tiansha, you've said so much. Are you done? No matter how much you say, I can't escape the fate of being refined today. I know the system and the battleship are up to no good, but as long as I refine you and devour the sun and moon, I can refine the battleship and the system. Isn't that perfect? A. Chapter 880. Gu Xiansha, do you really think you're invincible with this system and battleship? Gu Tiansha, the Lord of the Sun and Moon, stood up slowly. His aura was like the sky, the earth, the void, and the origin. Divine origin. Gu Xiansha said in shock. You're at the divine origin level. Weren't you at the celestial master level before? He knew that people like Gu Tiansha could sweep the world as long as they became celestial masters. Just like Gu Chernsha, he was invincible at the celestial master level. Every step he took in the future would be an earth-shattering change. In the past, before Gu Chernsha had become a heavenly venerate, when the Lord of the Sun Moon, Gu Chernsha, had become a heavenly venerate, Gu Chernsha had almost swept through the world. That's right. I've completely assimilated the essence of the Lord of the Sun and Moon, as well as the essence of the Tao of Heaven, and the essence of the ancient immortal trampling. I've become something completely new. Did you know that in the 36th year of the heavenly talisman, the Tao of Heaven lost control of me, and I was able to assimilate the essence? Now I'm at the heavenly origin level, and my power has increased by more than 100 times. My power has increased by more than 100 times. I can use the power of the sun and moon great thousand, but it's not your own power. How dare you come to me? Gu Tiansha said proudly, I'm not the Lord of the Sun and Moon anymore. You can call me the Lord of Eternity. Yanko means eternity. You want to have the same dream as the Emperor of Heaven just because you've got the relics of the prehistoric civilization? You're delusional. Gu Tiansha, we'll only know who's stronger after we fight. Let's gather the power of the prehistoric civilization. Gu Xiansha suddenly attacked. He broke through layers of obstacles and arrived in front of Gu Tiansha. Fist to rule the world. One punch to shock the world. Gu Tiansha, try the most powerful fist technique of the prehistoric civilization, Fist of the God of Heaven. Dominate everything in the world. Only I can live and die. Crown Prince Gu Xuanxa's fist technique was unstoppable. He tore apart everything and sought the ultimate freedom, the freedom above freedom. When he punched, a vortex suddenly appeared with his fist as the center. It contained the power to destroy everything and absorb and crush everything. Suddenly, endless solar true fire gathered at the center of his fist. The entire sun was about to collapse. This was Gu Tianxa's home ground, but Gu Xuanxa's punch was about to absorb the entire sun and turn it into the system's energy source. The sun was the manifestation of the celestial plane's will. The will of the celestial plane was vast and mighty. It was an existence that cultivators could never hope to defeat. In fact, it was an existence that cultivators could not even look up to. However, the warships and the god system of the prehistoric civilization were essentially more tyrannical existences than the heaven realm. What was even more amazing was that the battleship and the system had successfully survived the great calamity of the destruction of the world and the destruction of all living things into primordial chaos. They had actually survived the explosion of primordial chaos and had successfully accumulated a lot of experience points. Even the battleship and the system had been greatly honed. Theoretically speaking, the battleship and the system were almost immortal. Although the blazing sun of the heavenly realm was vast, under the power of the battleship and the system, it was somewhat unable to withstand it. Good, you do have some skill. Gu Tianxia waved his hands and a talisman appeared. The talisman formed the word Yong. The word spread out and suppressed all the wave. Even Gu Xuanxa's punch had lost its power. Gu Xuanxa's punch had lost all its power. Yongjin River and Mountain. Gu Tianxia grabbed Gu Xuanxa's fist, and a mocking smile appeared on his face. It's not your own power. It's all because of a magic treasure that you obtained. You want to fight back against me? Do you really think you can devour me? What a joke. You're like a rich man who doesn't know how high the sky is. Do you think you can rebel just because you got some wealth? Gu Tianxia, if you were strong, you wouldn't be hiding here like a turtle. You would go and challenge Gu Tianxia. The Crown Prince's ancient arcane sand fist suddenly became incorporeal, and Gu Tianxia grabbed nothing but air. I didn't expect your cultivation level to rise so quickly. You actually cultivated directly to Heaven Origin Realm. I admit it was a mistake. But you can't do anything to me. Why don't we work together? With this move, Gu Xianxia could tell that it was impossible for him to kill Gu Xianxia. He didn't want to have a pointless fight anymore. He wanted to work together and plot against Gu Xianxia. It's right for us to work together. Gu Tianxia could also see that it was impossible for him to destroy the battleship and system left by the prehistoric civilization, so he started to feign civility. Okay, I think only by working together can we not be taken advantage of by Emperor Heaven and Gu Tianxia. In fact, in terms of the factions in the world, the future Heavenly Court and the Emperor Heaven are the strongest. Of course, Gu Tianxia has the fate of the Divine Prefecture and the Court, so he won't be outdone. I'm weaker, and you are much weaker. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia saw the situation clearly. But if we work together, we won't be weaker than Emperor Heaven and Gu Tianxia. That makes sense. In the past, I supported you to take back the position of Crown Prince. Gu Tianxia put on a fake smile and said, but at that time, you were weak and didn't cause any big waves. But now, you have really grown up. I will still assist you to become the Crown Prince and fight with Gu Tianxia for fate and luck. In reality, as long as we control all the people of the Divine Prefecture. In fact, as long as we control all the people in the Divine Prefecture, the power of sacrifice every year will be enough to form our immortal bodies. That's right. Right now, the people with the bloodline of the Divine Prefecture are the most valuable wealth. Even if we gather 100 million people with the bloodline of the Divine Prefecture and make them sacrifice to me, The immortal substance extracted from the sacrifice will allow the system and the battleship to recover a lot of power and repair the damage. Then, I will be able to control a large part of the power, Crown Prince Gu Xianxia said. You have to be careful of the 12 leaders in the battleship. Although they are dead and in a deep sleep, their imprints are still there. They can wake up at any time and take over your thought. Gu Tianxia seemed to be very familiar with the battleship and the system. A smile appeared on his face. Main God, Main Dawn, Main Ruler, Main Spirit, Main Xiao, Main Blaze, Main Mi, Main Sa, Main Pu, Main Na, Main Ian, Main Si. If the 12 main gods gather together, you won't be a match at all. How are you so familiar with the battleship and the system? Crown Prince Gu Xianxia was wary. Naturally, I'm omniscient. I carry the essence of the ancient treading immortal, and the ancient treading immortal fused with the immortal Lord, so I've long understood all the secrets of the prehistoric civilization. That's why he created the Great Massacre God art. The Great Massacre God art itself is a supreme art created by combining the immortal Tao civilization and the prehistoric civilization. Gu Tianxia's tone seemed to have a lot of magic. In fact, you know why you obtained this battleship. This is also Gu Taxian's arrangement. Gu Taxian conferred you the title of Crown Prince in order to capture this battleship. After all, this battleship and the system fought against the heavenly Tao. Although it failed, it has actually obtained some immortality. Of course, after you obtained this battleship, you also carried the fate of this battleship, which is to fight against the heavenly Tao and the Emperor of Heaven. That way, when you and the Emperor of Heaven fight to the death, it will be Gu Qianxia who comes out to reap the fruits of the labor. Therefore, Gu Taxian arranged for you to be the crown prince in order to make a wedding dress for Gu Qianxia. I'm sure you are very clear about this. Since he conferred you the title of crown prince, he has to give you authority. However, he gave the Emperor of Heaven token to Lu Baiwei. Why? Have you thought about it? Damn it! Crown Prince Gu Tianxia clenched his fist. So I was a sacrificial pawn. Everything was to help Gu Qianxia. But what about you? Speaking of which, we are still brothers. What's going on with your birth? Was it part of Gu Taxian's plan? My birth was an accident, Gu Tianxia said. Gu Tianxia said, the heavenly Tao and Gu trampling celestial couldn't defeat each other, so they were secretly making arrangements. The heavenly Tao gave birth to an incarnation, which was Celestial Emperor, while Gu trampling celestial was nurturing Gu Qianxia. As for me, I am the result of their entanglement, an existence that no one can control. Now that I have reached the heaven origin stage, I know everything about the heavenly Tao, and I also know everything about the ancient immortal treading. Theoretically speaking, I am the strongest existence, because no one can control my fate. Of course, I also have a flaw, which is that I lost a tenth of my origin, causing my origin to be incomplete. It was taken away by Gu Qianxia, so I was unable to cultivate to the highest level. Otherwise, I would be able to suppress you right now. Let's not talk about this. Let's work together to expand our strength. Individually, none of us can compare to the Emperor of Heaven or Gu Qianxia. But if we work together, can we kill any one of them? Crown Prince Gu Tianxia's eyes glittered with ferocity. His hatred for Gu Qianxia, Lu Baiwei, and the others had reached a boiling point. Don't do anything rash for now. It'll be difficult for us to work together. Unless you're willing to release some sort of warding magic and let me hack into the system of the One God and the battleship, I can take the Lord God, Lord Dawn, Lord Sovereign, Lord Spirit, Lord Rest, Lord Blaze, Lord Me, Lord Mass, Lord Na, Lord Ian, and Lord C. Once you absorb the sealing marks of the 12 Magisters, you'll feel a lot less pressure on you. You'll also have more control over the battleship and the systems of the One God. It'll be a win-win situation. Truth be told, you're not strong enough to take full control of the battleship and the systems. Crown Prince Gu Tiansha burst out laughing. Gu Tiansha, are you trying to bully me for being naive? How about we play a big game? If you want to devour the 12 leaders, why don't we make a deal? I'll give you half of the system, then you can help me refine the sun and moon. Chapter 881. Refining the Sun and Moon. Hearing this, Gu Tiansha didn't come back to his senses. Then, a hideous smile appeared on his face. Gu Xiansha, you're really ambitious. You should know that the sun and moon represent the will of the heaven realm. If you refine them, not only will the entire heaven realm lose its light, it will also cause the will of the heaven realm to devour us. All kinds of disadvantages and tribulations will befall us. Tell me, if the entire heaven realm suddenly loses its light, what kind of unpredictable consequences will there be? If the heaven realm is one, then the sun and moon are its eyes. Humans can lose everything but their eyes. Once they lose their eyes, the will of the heaven realm itself will go crazy. With our strength, we won't be able to resist the crazy counterattack of the will of the heaven realm. BIM. This is absolutely not feasible. Ha 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 ha. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha laughed crazily again. Gu Tiansha, people say that you're audacious, but that's all you've got now. I naturally have my own plans. First, it's true that the sun and moon are the will of the heaven realm, but because of that, it shows how precious they are. I'll use the one God system and the warship left behind by the prehistoric civilization to devour the will of the heaven realm. Plus, if we work together and control the system, won't that be perfect? Not to mention that you'll gain more. Who says that if we refine the sun and moon, the heaven realm will lose its light? Once we refine the sun and moon and activate the power of the system, the two of us will be able to transform into a brand new sun and moon and illuminate the heavenly realm. All living beings in the heavenly realm will be bathed in our brilliance. Nature will worship us and the hearts of people will be used by us. Even the divine prefecture will not be able to escape this fate. This is an open plan. When that time comes, even Gu Chernsha won't be able to do anything. As our light shines on the heaven realm will be gradually infiltrated by us. We can even refine the heaven realm for our own use. When that happens, won't we become truly invincible? Shu, when Gu Tiansha heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air, then nodded his head. Your plan is really something that no one has ever thought of. If it succeeds, we can indeed obtain huge benefits. We can even merge the warship systems of the heaven realm and the prehistoric civilization together. At that time, Gu Chernsha and the Emperor of Heaven are nothing, and the heavenly Tao will be in our hands. The prehistoric civilization's strongest point was their warships and systems, while the immortal Tao civilization's strongest point was the heaven realm. The combination of the two would definitely produce all sorts of unimaginable power. Now I understand why Gu Taxian conferred you the title of Crown Prince. Your cultivation base isn't worth mentioning, but your ambition is incomparably enormous. Sometimes your ambition can destroy you, and sometimes it can create miracles. Then shall we begin? If it was just me alone, I wouldn't be able to devour the sun and moon. But now we have you. You are the Lord of the sun and moon, and you can use the power of the sun and moon. With this power, we can change the heaven realm's sun and moon into our own. No one knows that the heaven realm's sun and moon are no longer the heaven realm's will, but us. Ha 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 ha. Crown Prince Gu Xiansha laughed maniacally. The great spirit god, God Maha, Wan Senshi, Jingqiu, Gu Tanjian, and what do you think? The great spirit god, God Maha, and the others were stunned by Crown Prince Gu Xuansha's idea. Crown Prince Gu Xuansha's idea is simply earth-shattering. His ambition is so great that he doesn't care about anything. It's like an ant wanting to move a mountain, or a fish wanting to swallow the sea. The great spirit god's eyes kept turning. No one knew what he was thinking. If he succeeds, all living beings in the heaven realm will be enveloped by his light and will definitely be affected by his karma. In this way, the karma cycle will be filled with sacrifices. The people of the divine prefecture will not be an exception. This is a drastic solution for Gu Qinsha and the Emperor Heaven. The Gu family is indeed all crazy. In their blood flows the genes of extreme madness. Gu Qinsha, Gu Tiansha, Gu Xiansha. These people are stirring up chaos in the world and the heavenly Tao. I don't know when the Emperor Heaven will come out and fight with these people. But now I am benefiting from both sides, which is a great benefit. I, the Great Spirit God, have never been at a disadvantage, and now is no exception. If it wasn't for the calamity of the world, I wouldn't have been able to cultivate to the heavenly origin realm. Actually, apart from these monsters, I, the Great Spirit God, am already an existence that dominates the world. If these monsters all meet a calamity, then I might be the final winner. I hope Gu Qinsha, the Emperor Heaven, Gu Xiansha, and Gu Tiansha will all perish together. In that case, I agree with your idea. Let's steal the sky and change the sun. Gu Tiansha calculated deeply for a long time before finally nodding his head. Come, release the system. I'll help you refine the imprints in the depths of the system. These imprints of the prehistoric civilization are like maggots in your bones. They will bite and control you at any time. However, with the power of the sun and moon in the heavenly realm, we can inflict permanent damage and devour them. As long as I devour these imprints, my cultivation will be able to improve, and you will also be fine. Good. Riches come from danger. Gu Tiansha laughed and opened the battleship and the system, letting Gu Tiansha's will enter. Sun and moon are mighty, heavenly Tao slays gods. Gu Tiansha waved his hands in the air, writing out another Yong character. This Yong character entered the battleship and the system, and instantly, the battleship shot out an intense light, forming bolts of divine lightning that blasted towards Gu Tiansha. Humph! Gu Tiansha's expression didn't change. Your battleship used up too much power, and Gu Qinsha invaded it and almost took control of the god system. In the end, you had no choice but to sense Gu Tiansha's aura. You tried to use his fate and bloodline to recover your power, but you ran into me. I control the sun and moon, and have reached the heavenly origin realm. Suppressing your imprints isn't a problem. Rumble! Gu Tiansha's body turned into the word forever, and devoured the god lightning. Then, he entered the battleship. Kill! As Gu Tiansha invaded the battleship, 12 sealing marks appeared, each of them holding a scepter and a talisman. These were the 12 magisters of the prehistoric civilization. Lord God, Lord Dawn, Lord Sovereign, Lord Spirit, Lord Rest, Lord Blaze, Lord Me, Lord Sa, Lord Universal, Lord Epoch, and Lord Sea. Lord Dawn appeared, and his body was dim, as if he had used up too much power, and could be extinguished at any moment. He could sense the invading will, and his killing intent surged. Damned invaders! We haven't even destroyed the Tao of Heaven, and yet you bugs dare to touch us? Even if we're not even at 1/10,000th of our full power, we're still not something you can handle. The 12 magisters formed a 12-pointed starlight that not only resisted Gu Tiansha's invasion, but also attempted to devour his will, soul, flesh, and blood. Sun and moon, assist me. Suddenly, the power of the sun and moon sprang up around Gu Tiansha, and an enormous will descended. As the sun and moon rotated, a projection of the heavenly world appeared. That's right, it was the projection of the heavenly world. The projection of the heavenly world had appeared on Gu Tiansha's body. Theoretically speaking, Gu Tiansha already had the ability to use the power of the heavenly world. What? Gu Tiansha's heart clenched, and he was given quite a fright. This was because he knew that he was still little Tiansha, a person who shouldn't have existed in this world. After the projection of the heavenly world appeared on Gu Tianxa's body, it shook violently and completely destroyed the 12 starlight formation that the 12 magisters had formed. Gu Tianxia once again entered the depths of the battleship, and he started to devour the magisters' sealing marks. Damn it! The 12 magisters' sealing marks all roared, "We're immortal beings, undying creators! You bug, how dare you try to devour us? God's descent." Buzz, in the system of the prehistoric civilization, a ball of pure light suddenly appeared. This light seemed to be condensed from many runes, and it contained the deepest understanding and wisdom of the civilization. However, at this moment, this ball of pure light seemed to have an additional inexplicable concept. Before, the light of the one God system had been incredibly pure. But now, it had absorbed the quintessence of the immortal Tao civilization, and many of the writings within it were similar to Gu Chencha's Dragonless Heart Sutra. That made the one God system even more perfect, more complete, and more complete. Rumble. The light and writings of the one God system reflected Gu Tianxia back. Gu Tianxia once again formed his body, and his expression was very unsightly. Damn it! Damn that Gu Tianxia! I can't believe he put his Dragonless Heart Sutra into the one God system. That's going to make the system even more perfect. He's making an even more powerful enemy for himself. You weren't able to refine the 12 magisters' seals. Gu Tianxia frowned. I know what Gu Tianxia meant. After Gu Tianxia invaded the battleship and the system and absorbed the knowledge of the prehistoric civilization, he intentionally left the Dragonless Heart Sutra inside so that the system could evolve again and become a threat to the Emperor of Heaven. Apart from that, the system absorbed the Dragonless Heart Sutra, which means that he himself initiated some kind of evolution. In the end, he used some kind of cultivation base to completely absorb the system. Hold down for 3 seconds to copy. Chapter 882. I never would have guessed that Gu Tianxia would have a plan like this, Gu Tianxia said, grinding his teeth. Gu Xianxia gnashed his teeth in anger. Deep down, he had other plans. He wanted to use the power of the system of the one God to force Gu Tianxia and the system to fight. Eventually, both of them would be seriously injured, and he would be able to devour both of them. That way, he would be free and unfettered for all eternity, invincible, and able to do whatever he wanted. If he didn't have this plan, then he wouldn't have been able to fight against the Celestial Emperor. Now, he has used his own strength to suppress the Divine Prefecture and the 4 wilds to the point where they can't move. If he didn't exist, the Divine Continent would have become the Heavenly Court, and Emperor of Heaven would have come out to take control. But that's not important. I'm confident I can assimilate the system of the one God and devour the 12 magisters. Those 12 psychic seals are deathless, Gu Tianxia said. They're indestructible and indestructible. Even when heaven and earth were destroyed and the universe returned to primal chaos, they couldn't do anything to them. I don't think it's possible to assimilate them. If you and I work together, we can succeed. You still don't understand what kind of role you play for the system. In essence, you are a parasite, while the system and the battleship are parasites. They live in your body, absorbing your blood and qi. No, it should be said that the system and the battleship are evil spirits, possessing you, a person with a strong yang qi, absorbing your yang qi, turning you into its food. But because of this, you can use the power of the system and the battleship. I just need to strengthen your blood and then you can infiltrate the system. That way, we'll be able to take control of the system. Come on, let's do it. Gu Tianxia and Gu Tianxia were scheming against each other. Originally, Gu Tianxia hadn't been a match for Gu Tianxia. But now that he had the power of the system, he could fight Gu Tianxia to a standstill. Okay, this time we will work together sincerely and stop doubting each other. Crown Prince Gu Xianxia also knew that using Gu Xianxia to check and balance the system was the best choice. Then, the two of them started to cultivate in the sun. Waves of golden flames entered the sun. This was the will of the heaven realm. They wanted to use the will of the heaven realm to suppress the warships and systems of the prehistoric civilization. Then, they would devour the will of the heaven realm and achieve great achievements. This was the idea of the Crown Prince Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia. Gradually, there seemed to be some white light in the blazing sun of the heaven realm. Stealing the sky and changing the sun is indeed a powerful move. Gu Qianxia stood in Sin State City, looking up at the blazing sun of the celestial realm. He felt all sorts of changes in the scorching sun. As the scorching sun shone down, there were many things that he couldn't explain clearly. However, he knew very well just what sort of changes had taken place within. It's just as I guessed. Gu Qianxia nodded. Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia are ambitious. They want to refine the sun and moon of the heaven realm and replace them. They want all living things in the heaven realm to be bathed in their light. If they succeed, the heaven realm will naturally be theirs. They can even compete with the Emperor of Heaven. But the two of them are scheming against each other, so they won't succeed. Besides, they can't grasp the true meaning of the One God system. After the One God system devours my Dragonless Heart Sutra, it will gradually change in a way that even the Tao of Heaven can't predict. This is my plan. The One God system can also control the Emperor of Heaven, so I can use my power to reduce the pressure. Gu Qianxia knew everything like the back of his hand. For now, he couldn't subdue or refine the One God system. As for Gu Qianxia, he had reached the sky origin stage and had advanced by leaps and bounds. But in Gu Qianxia's opinion, he could still capture him. But right now, Gu Qianxia's real body had to suppress the four wilds and monitor the movements of the Emperor of Heaven. Using a clone to deal with Gu Tianxia, who was in the sky origin stage, was beyond his power. And in Gu Qianxia's opinion, Gu Tianxia's power hadn't reached its peak. In other words, he hadn't fattened up yet. Gu Tianxia and Gu Xianxia were in cahoots with each other to devour and interfere with the will of the heaven realm, which gave Gu Qianxia a lot more time. The divine land was the center of the heaven realm, and the heaven realm was the source of the divine land's power. If the heaven realm was gradually eroded, the resistance of the divine land would be much weaker. Then it would be easy for Gu Qianxia to refine and absorb it completely, and become the dragonless gourd. Gu Qianxia's current plan was not to kill Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia, but to let them grow stronger and lead them to fight with the Emperor of Heaven first. The current situation was created single-handedly by Gu Qianxia. Gu Xianxia and Gu Tianxia wanted to devour the sun and moon of the heaven realm, which would create an irreconcilable contradiction for the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Heaven would definitely prevent this from happening. However, Gu Qianxia believed that the Emperor of Heaven was hiding in the depths, and there must be some conspiracy beyond his imagination. The only thing he couldn't calculate right now was the existence of the Emperor of Heaven. The secrets of others couldn't escape his calculations. After obtaining 99% of the prehistoric civilization's knowledge and combining it with his own immortal Tao civilization, the dragonless gourd could almost be destroyed and reborn countless times. It could be said that Gu Qianxia already had the immortal power of the prehistoric civilization. Even if the heavenly Tao exploded and returned to primal chaos, he could still survive and wait for the next opportunity. Gradually, he comprehended the principles and essence of immortality, indestructibility, non-existence, and non-existence. Qianxia, is the power in my body the Empress of Heaven's essence? Recently, I feel the power in my body boiling violently, as if it's going to escape my control. My cultivation has also reached the celestial longevity realm, close to divine essence. I believe it won't be long before I reach divine essence. At this time, Lu Baiwe walked over. Her power and aura were simply daunting, but she wasn't happy at all because she couldn't control this power herself. If I'm not wrong, this is indeed the Empress of Heaven's essence. A dragonless gourd art appeared in Gu Chencha's eyes. The art seeped out, transforming into an eyeball. As the eyeball spun, it was able to see Lu Baiwe clearly. Indeed, in the center of Lu Baiwe's body, in the very center of the dimension and space, there was a clump of soft power stirring, unfathomable and unfathomable. Come out! Gu Chensha made a grabbing motion. Instantly, a vortex appeared on his palm. His psychic energy and spirit force directly tried to grab the clump of essence. However, just as he was about to touch it, he grabbed nothing but air. This clump of essence seemed to exist in Lu Baiwe's body, but in reality, it didn't exist at all. Such a state of existence and non-existence was something Gu Chensha could achieve as well. It was an extremely mysterious and unparalleled state, with countless transformations. Not bad. As expected of the Empress of Heaven's essence. It actually dares to play tricks in front of me. Gu Chensha continued, Baiwe, the Empress of Heaven's essence is indeed seeping into your body and controlling it. The Emperor of Heaven is the Empress of the Heavenly Tao. The Emperor of Heaven is the incarnation of the Heavenly Tao, while the Empress of Heaven is the Empress of the Emperor of Heaven. The two of their essences are actually very close. I know that the Empress of Heaven's essence will suddenly take control of your body one day, forcing you to join the camp of the Emperor of Heaven. You have to use your unparalleled will to control this essence. Only then will you not lose your way. I know about this. Lu Baiwe's killing intent seethed. The Empress of Heaven's essence is causing mischief in my body. Actually, if it wasn't for the power of the medallion left behind by the Emperor, the Empress of Heaven's essence would have long since changed my will. What should I do now? I have to think of a way. Meditate on the medallion left behind by the Emperor Father. You can control the Empress of Heaven's essence, and then merge it into your own body. If the Empress of Heaven's essence can't change you, it will try to escape, and then transfer it to someone else, making another woman the Empress of Heaven. Gu Chensha continued, then we'll have a powerful enemy. The Empress of Heaven is the assistant of the Emperor of Heaven. In the future, the Emperor of Heaven will be in hiding, and the Empress of Heaven will make all the decisions in the heavenly court. Therefore, the Empress of Heaven will be of utmost importance in the future heavenly court. After you refine her, not only will you become extremely powerful, but you'll also weaken the Emperor of Heaven. We'll have a better chance of defeating the Emperor of Heaven. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Lu Baiwe said, the Empress of Heaven's essence is constantly sending me information, which makes me feel the power of the heavenly Tao. It's impossible to reverse the trend of fate. Right now, our destiny is still relatively strong. If it's weak, I'm afraid we'll suffer a disaster. Everything we have now is in accordance with the Emperor's legacy. If something happens to the Emperor, yes, there is a problem in this area. Gu Chensha said, Heavenly Talisman Year 36 is the moment I became a celestial lord. When I ascended, I vaguely guessed some information. This time, the heavenly Tao completely gave up on its supervision of the world. It's shrinking its power to deal a fatal blow to the Emperor Father. This is extremely dangerous. Between the Emperor and the heavenly Tao, who do you think is stronger? With your current cultivation, you can be said to stand at the peak of both civilizations. You can see many things. My vision is far inferior to yours. Lu Baiwe asked the most crucial question. Moreover, you seem to have a way to interfere in the battle between the Emperor and the heavenly Tao. Can you communicate with the Emperor? Communicate with the Emperor Father? Gu Chencha's heart stirred. I'm still a little bit off, but I'll be able to cultivate to the heavenly longevity realm and even the heaven origin realm soon. The heavenly Tao gave up on its supervision and dealt a fatal blow to the Emperor Father. This allowed Gu Chencha's cultivation to reach the heaven origin realm. I'll also reach it soon. Once I reach the heaven origin realm, I'll be able to communicate with the Emperor Father. Chapter 883. Gu Chensha was indeed one of the strongest existences in the myriad worlds, past and future. Even Emperor Heaven wasn't much better. They were evenly matched, and it was still extremely difficult to kill him, the great calamity. In fact, it was still unknown who would emerge victorious. His strength had already touched upon the realm of ancient immortal treading. He had inherited the knowledge of the immortal Tao civilization and the prehistoric mechanical technology civilization. He had comprehended the Dragonless Heart Sutra. Although this Heart Sutra hadn't reached major success yet, it was already close to perfection. As long as he reached perfection, people could become divergents through the cultivation of the Dragonless cultivation art. As long as Gu Chensha continued to comprehend it, the Dragonless cultivation art would reach perfection sooner or later. Once the Dragonless cultivation art reached perfection, his cultivation would truly be unshakable. However, it wasn't easy for the Dragonless cultivation art to reach perfection. The Dragonless cultivation art was the greatest secret of the two civilizations, the strongest cultivation art that could turn all living beings into divergents. Its profoundness could no longer be described with words. At this moment, he understood Gu Taxian's realm, as well as the heavenly Tao's realm. Sooner or later, he would fuse with these two existences. However, there was one thing he still couldn't understand. Where did Gu Taxian come from? In Gu Taxian's calculations, there was no such thing in the past, future, or present. There was no such existence in the heavenly Tao. Of course, Gu Chensha himself didn't have one either. However, the source of his existence was actually Gu Taxian. The heavenly Tao contains countless spacetime, past, present, and future. Gu Chensha said, it truly encompasses everything. The birth of Father Emperor was a product outside of the heavenly Tao. In that case, could there be an existence outside of the heavenly Tao? The heavenly Tao controlled all things. Everything that existed or didn't exist, what happened in the past, what was happening in the present, and what would happen in the future, everything was under the control of the heavenly Tao. And although the human heart was something the heavenly Tao couldn't control, humans had never been able to develop and grow. Therefore, the human heart wasn't able to refine a large amount of substance that surpassed the heavenly Tao. Gu Chensha's understanding of the human heart had reached an extremely profound realm with the development of the Dragonless cultivation art. Hence, he was certain that the heavenly talisman Great Emperor Gu Taxian wasn't born from the human heart. Did that mean that there were other existences besides the heavenly Tao? What was it? Gu Chensha couldn't understand. However, he did not force it. Once his cultivation was deep enough, he would naturally be able to understand everything. Now, I will help you suppress and refine the Empress of Heaven's source. Gu Chensha had Lu Baiwe sit down. The Empress of Heaven's source is always a hidden danger, but you can use Regal Proprius token to refine it. This token was originally given to you to restrain the Empress of Heaven's source. In this way, this source can be completely refined and subdued, allowing your cultivation to truly reach a peak, becoming the true trump card of our imperial court. The Empress of Heaven's source wants to control me? That's simply wishful thinking. Lu Baiwe revolved her cultivation base, starting to suppress the Empress of Heaven's source within her. After that, she took out Regal Proprius token. This token floated above her head, emitting a golden glow, causing the Empress of Heaven's source to shrink back, preventing it from being suppressed and refined by the might of the token. Not bad, I've already seen through some of the profundities of this token. I can already use the Dragonless Heart Sutra to envelop this token, inheriting my imperial father's will and assisting you to truly refine the Empress of Heaven's source. In fact, it can even confuse the Emperor of Heaven. Gu Chencha's Dragonless Heart Sutra was activated as a majestic text appeared above his head. This text contained the supreme truths of the heavens and earth, the source of the great Tao, and even some sort of ability that surpassed the heavenly Tao. The text of the Dragonless Heart Sutra instantly enveloped the token, causing light to shine from within, fusing into the Dragonless Heart Sutra, causing each and every character of the Dragonless Heart Sutra to shine brightly. Not only that, but within the text of the Dragonless Heart Sutra, another piece of supreme text appeared. These texts contained even more secrets than the prehistoric civilization. The prehistoric civilization had fought against the heavenly Tao, and in the end, had been destroyed by the heavenly Tao. Now, they had lost all the power they had in their heyday, and were struggling at death's door. Gu Taxian, on the other hand, was capturing the heavenly Tao and suppressing it. From beginning to end, he was never at a disadvantage, and in fact, seemed to be gradually gaining the upper hand. This was something that could be seen from the fact that the world Yonko was becoming more and more prosperous with each passing day. Although the world Yonko was flourishing because of Gu Chencha's Celestial Calmness Department, because of the game between Gu Taxian and the heavenly Tao, the Emperor of Heaven had to tread carefully when he appeared. This gave the Celestial Calmness Department the most crucial time to govern the world. If not for Gu Taxian's suppression, the heavenly Tao's current might would be immeasurable, and the Emperor of Heaven would be 10 times, 100 times stronger. Gu Chensha also deeply understood this logic. From this golden token, he could feel the various experiences of the heavenly talisman Heavenly Emperor in the game against the heavenly Tao. This experience was even more valuable than the knowledge of the prehistoric civilization that Gu Chensha had obtained. As more and more experiences were passed down, the Dragonless Heart Sutra in Gu Chencha's Dragonless Heart Sutra increased in number. Each and every character contained the aura of the King of Mutants, and they were even more tyrannical compared to the King of Mutants. This was the ancestor of mutants, the ultimate transformation of mutants. The words in the Dragonless Heart Sutra were as vast as the sea, and it was unknown how many characters there were. The characters could be casually combined to form all sorts of knowledge and civilizations. Gu Chencha's Dragonless Heart Sutra seemed to be able to establish a brand new, flawless, eternal, and immortal civilization. The true profundity of the Yonko lay in his Dragonless Heart Sutra. Good. As he continued to refine the Dragonless Heart Sutra token, Gu Chencha's expression grew more and more joyful. The information transmitted from this token benefited him greatly. However, the battle between the heavenly talisman Heavenly Emperor and the heavenly Tao was too profound. It would be difficult for Gu Chensha to completely refine, digest, and comprehend it. Even so, Gu Chencha's cultivation base suddenly rose by a level, reaching the heavenly longevity realm. I broke through so easily? Gu Chensha hadn't expected that the token he refined would contain such profound information. Advancing was actually so easy? Even Ru Chensha was a little surprised. Originally, when one's cultivation reached his level, it was extremely difficult to advance to the next level. It was unknown how much accumulation, and comprehension were needed. He had even created a path that no one had ever attempted before, so he didn't have the experience of anyone before him. He had to rely on himself to operate, condense, and comprehend everything he had created. Heavenly Longevity Realm. Gu Chencha's entire body was bathed in a power that reached the end of the world. This was the Heavenly Longevity Realm. The Heavenly Longevity Realm. As long as the world exists, I will not perish. Such a realm was indeed a level higher than a heavenly sovereign. Heavenly sovereigns also had a lifespan and couldn't reach the end of the world. However, the Heavenly Longevity Realm could. This is the Heavenly Longevity Realm? This realm is indeed a challenge to the world. To have the same lifespan as the world, the heavenly Tao is equivalent to tacitly accepting a special existence. In truth, the heavenly Tao doesn't allow heavenly sovereigns and heavenly longevity realms to appear. After all, this is a challenge to the heavenly Tao's authority. However, the heavenly Tao can also have uncontrollable things happen. Gu Qinsha secretly analyzed his own realm. If heavenly sovereigns are mountain kings who don't obey the court's orders, then the heavenly longevity realm is the vassal states overseas. As for the heavenly prime realm, it can already threaten the heavenly Tao's authority. In an instant, Gu Qinsha had obtained all the secrets of the heavenly longevity realm, as well as the relationship between this realm and the heavenly Tao. It could be said that no one understood the heavenly longevity realm better than him. This was a huge gain. Empress of Heaven's origin. After refining it this time, the Emperor of Heaven will weaken even more. Gu Qinsha suddenly moved, and the token fell into Lu Baiyue's body. It actually fiercely collided with the Empress of Heaven's origin. The Empress of Heaven's origin seemed to be very afraid of this, like I am present token. The light of the token wrapped around the Empress of Heaven's origin. The Empress of Heaven's origin suddenly condensed, turning into a ray of light that actually wanted to escape from Lu Baiyue's body. It gave up on Lu Baiyue, wanting to find someone else and let another girl become the Empress of Heaven. Gu Qinsha naturally wouldn't let the Empress of Heaven's origin leave, because once it did, Lu Baiyue's strength would greatly decrease, and she would completely lose some sort of profoundness. The reason why he wanted to help Lu Baiyue refine it this time was also to prevent the Empress of Heaven's origin from leaving, which would cause Lu Baiyue's combat strength to decrease, and she wouldn't be able to suppress the situation. At that moment, Gu Qinsha's body disappeared, and in its place was the Dragonless Heart Sutra. The Dragonless Heart Sutra entered like I Am Presence token, causing the token to suddenly expand. It actually merged with the Dragonless Heart Sutra, turning into a huge net that covered the sky and earth, suppressing the Empress of Heaven's origin. Activate the Heavenly Mother formation, Gu Qinsha said to Lu Baiyue. Lu Baiyue understood tacitly and immediately activated it. Countless sacrificial energy surged forth, finally transforming into the image of a Heavenly Mother. This Heavenly Mother seemed to be the true Mother of Heaven and Earth, the Mother of the Heavenly Tao. The Heavenly Mother appeared, capturing the Empress of Heaven's origin. With Gu Qinsha's help, the Empress of Heaven's origin gradually quietened down, as though it was about to be truly subdued, broken down, and refined by Lu Baiyue. This Heavenly Mother formation was also created by Gu Taxian, as though it was used to refine the Empress of Heaven's origin at this moment. However, Gu Qinsha didn't relax in the slightest. He knew that after the Empress of Heaven's origin was refined, the Emperor of Heaven would eventually weaken. Even last time, when he was about to refine and extract the Empress of Heaven's origin, the Emperor of Heaven suddenly appeared to deal with Gu Qinsha, and rescued the Empress of Heaven's origin from Wu Dankong. The Empress of Heaven was much more important than the Empress of Heaven Wu Dankong. This time, when the Empress of Heaven's origin was refined, there was no reason for the Emperor of Heaven not to come out. Moreover, Gu Qinsha was deliberately luring the Emperor of Heaven out. Last time, when he caught the Emperor of Heaven, there weren't many clues, and he was almost able to pull out the Emperor of Heaven's true form. But now, the Emperor of Heaven was still hiding, which made Gu Qinsha very uncomfortable. After all, it was easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to guard against an arrow in the dark. As long as the Emperor of Heaven openly fought with him, then Gu Qinsha wasn't afraid at all. Browse reading address. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.